that doesn't look too bad. Okay.
Nah.
I'm going to go ahead and send a message. That's really funny. I'm going to go ahead and... First of all, oh my goodness, get my chat window up. We're just behind wildly. Okay, so I started the stream countdown before I actually looked to see if the shot was right. So, there we are. There's our show. Pretty close. Pretty close. Hangover streams are the best. Greetings, head pain havers.
Yes, hello, greetings.
Yes, I told them in the chat that we were a little hungover.
Well, this is our third time going out in public since being vaxxed, and I'd say that we forgot how to do it.
Yeah.
Because every time we've gone out, I feel like we've been hungover. I don't know if it's like overstimulation combined with drinking.
I think it's a combination for sure. I think it's all. The dog looks like an angel sleeping over there.
Oh, no.
Wow, that's very cute. Sorry we can't show you. Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's that plus the social exhaustion. Mm-hmm. But our friend Matt Shirley, who maybe some of you know from Austin, he was in a lot of comedy shows at Cold Town. He was in town for a wedding, so we went out and saw him, and he came over. It was the first time we had someone in our new place. It was real fun. Other than all of you, of course, digitally visit us every Tuesday. So we're not, like, super bad hungover. Like, I don't have a headache. Do you have a headache?
I have a headache.
Okay. I'll try not to be too loud.
And a giant coffee.
Enjoy your coffee. So I will say I think Stephanie is more hungover than me.
Yeah, I think I'm a little more of a sensitive baby.
I don't feel that bad, to be honest. But... I was still behind in getting us set up. Okay, you are lucky, Pathos. Honestly, I didn't have a hangover until I was 32, is I think when I got my first hangover.
Yeah.
But
30s are definitely when you go, oh, I can't do that like I used to do anymore.
That's right, nor should you, truly. What up, Holdenwook? Hey, yo, what up, Holdenwook, Pathos, and Munson J1? Got some homies in the chat. Let's do the spiel real quick. It is now slightly after 7 p.m. Central Time, and you are in a video store, the online space to hang out and talk about movies for people who miss hanging out IRL and talking about movies. I'm one of your two clerks, Adam Protextor.
And I am your other clerk / co-host, Stephanie Thoreson.
And
I said that like a news reporter.
Which is, of course, why we do this show. We're doing this show in the hopes that we're discovered by a local news affiliate and get to be anchors. Yeah. So welcome to the Long Con. Also, if you can hear a little bit of white noise on today's stream, please let us know. Our AC is running. Normally we turn it off, but it's a little hot. So we will navigate that if it's distracting. However, I moved the mic up. Just a technical note. You are watching UltraLoop. This is a Twitch stream. We appreciate it if you subscribe. Thanks to those of you who already have free subscriptions through Prime. This is a movie talk show where we talk about movies. Generally, we spend the first third of the show asking, what did you watch? We'll tell you what we watched. We'll share our opinions. We'll move into new arrivals. Very light new arrival stack today. Only a few tapes. And then we will get into Movie Club. Now, I have seen the Movie Club pick this week. What up, Wedge? Yes, was hoarse from talking for an hour with friends at a small party. Yes, exactly. Okay, cool. Well, just let us know if the white noise feels distracting, because we want it to sound good for y'all. Yes, I too want to be a network anchor. It is kind of weirdly the dream. Like, it's never been something I've ever worked towards achieving or truly wanted. But if tomorrow someone was like, hey, Adam, would you like to be the 10 o'clock anchor for... I'd be like, of course I would. That sounds really fun.
I'll take the gig.
Get a little coffee there.
Thank you. I'm a mess today.
Well, we didn't have our hair and makeup person come in today.
Which I would have if I were a news anchor.
Full circle. I want to rip this Band-Aid off. How many people watched the movie club pick of In the Mood for Love, the Wong Kar-wai movie? Because we went out a couple times, and last night we're supposed to watch it, and...
hung out with Matt instead. We're going to be real honest.
We always watch our movie club picks on Monday nights, so they're super fresh in our head. And this is honestly the first Monday night we've gone out for drinks with a friend in about 16 months. Mm-hmm. And so we really didn't anticipate coming home and having him leave and then be like, do you want to watch a 2-hour slow-paced romantic drama? We were not in the headspace for it. We're still going to watch it.
Yeah.
I really would love to rewatch it. you haven't seen it. I'm still capable of, I will say I'm capable of discussing it, but more abstractly, because it's been a while. Mm-hmm. But if anyone, out there has something they want to share about it, or did get the chance to watch it, and has a strong opinion or take, please share it.
It looks like a couple people in the chat are saying that they missed the movie club this week as well, so we could just have a rollover from this week to next and have technically 2 movie club picks.
Why don't we do that? We've done that before.
Yeah.
We've had it before where we didn't get the chance to watch something and none of the regulars did either.
Yeah.
Let's keep it rolling over. However, let's go ahead and say that if you're able to watch Wong Kar-wai's Happy Together, that is a same-sex romance. It's harder to find. You probably would have to rent a DVD, which is why we chose In the Mood for Love, just to refresh everyone's memory. It's streaming, pretty easy to find on Amazon. Mm-hmm. Happy Together's not, but not first of all, because we've already talked a lot of words, but first of all-ish, Happy Pride Month. It is now June 1st. So happy Pride Month to anyone out there celebrating it, anyone queer identifying, whether we know you or not. Mm-hmm. We thought it would be cool to get into some queer cinema this month. Happy Together is a great piece of queer cinema. It's also Hong Kong cinema. It's a good crossover. So I don't think it would be fair for us to make it the movie club pick because it's hard to find.
Yeah.
But I will say I will maybe make it my staff pick or find some other way to push the gay agenda of watching Happy Together. And then I would love to talk about, later on when we get in the movie club, maybe we can use that as a springboard to talk about some queer movies we might want to watch this month.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. And we can talk about it. You know, I think in the past I've picked, maybe 3 of my staff picks have been queer movies, and we can, I can relist those and we can hop back into that conversation. I would love to have a whole month filled with queer cinema.
Me too. I also really we've been watching Shrill, which has John Cameron Mitchell on it, and
Hedwig.
I give me a reason to play my new Criterion Hedwig disc on the 4K TV, please.
Which, by the way, if I know we're just I guess we're getting into what we watched and whatever. That is the first segment of our show. Mm-hmm. We're just kind of rolling very...
Which on this, just want to say, Holden Wook made me giggle, and you were talking, I didn't want to interrupt, but Holden Wook made me giggle with Let It Ride.
Let It Ride.
And Watch Out Wedge didn't watch anything. Sister came to visit with a kid. That's 2 kiddos, 1 house, 4 adults. I don't know. That's a lot of people in a house. That's a lot of hubbub.
I think there's going to be a lot of weird remembering how to integrate all these different aspects of our lives and be social and see people. I think there's going to be a lot of
we actually have talked about that, how okay, one thing I love about this show is I feel like everyone's friends and we kind of all have a pretty good idea of what each other's lives are kind of like. Mm-hmm. And you guys know that we moved out here to Vegas, to Los Angeles, and that we have been, we're out here to make art. We're out here to do this show. We're out here to make music, etc. And, we're still getting our feet on the ground. We don't know barely any places or anybody or what shows to go to, but we want to start going to shows, and we just had this conversation where, as a musician, as a improv comedian, the responsible thing to do for us to follow our careers is to try and go to as many shows as possible. We are so used to being inside and watching 2 movies a day.
Yeah.
It is going to be such a, you said it, it's just finding the new balance of how do I keep doing, obviously this show's going to continue, which means that we want to keep watching a bunch of movies, mm-hmm. but how do we juggle it?
Yeah. But speaking of watching a bunch of movies, it looks like Pathos got the ball rolling with what they watched this week. Drop in the chat. We're just going to get into what did you watch. Drop it in the chat. The thing I was going to say earlier is sometimes I have a little aside about television. Just quickly on the note of Shrill, it is a super body posy, queer posy, very queer show. And it's also just a fun, great, funny show. Very bingeable. So if you're looking for something to binge, 3 seasons, you're good to go.
Yeah, we've kind of been binging it. I think we've put stopgaps on our watching so that it doesn't fly by so much.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, Gross.
Also, just a quick,
I was saying gross because I just watched the cat poop.
season 3, episode, I think it's episode 5. The outro song is my girl Molly Birch. So shout out to Molly.
Shout out Molly Birch.
We used to work together in a restaurant.
Shout out Austin Music.
It can happen for you.
It could happen to you, Austin musicians. Well, fucking awesome. Shrill is... I just sounded like the gopher from...
Shrill.
Can you do the gopher from Winnie the Pooh?
A little bit. Seriously.
It's a little more effortless for him.
Give me something he would say.
Abby watched all of Shrill and loved it, says Wedge.
Abby watched all of Shrill and loved it.
The gopher's more of a workhorse. He's not... You're making him like a gentle old man.
Like a languid donkey.
Yeah, he's more of a like, well, you see, we need to get under there to build a construction. I gotta get back to work, okay?
Abby watched all of Shrill and loved it. Watch out, Wedge.
It's pretty good. Oh. I can't do any of those voices.
News reporter.
I used to be able to do Winnie the Pooh a little better. Well, Shrill also gets my recommendation because you had watched it. You have like 4 episodes left in the series, right? Or in the season? Is this the last season?
Yes.
So you're almost finished, and you basically got me in, and we've watched all of it, and now we have like the last 4 episodes to watch together. Mm-hmm. I've loved it, and typically, I mean, it takes weirdly like I think it takes more than it should for me to fully invest into a new show. I kind of wish I was a little more open. I don't know. Maybe it's just something I need to work on, especially now that we're out here and we want to be making comedy TV shows. I need to watch a bunch.
Yeah.
But I will say, it's hard for me to be convinced to like invest in a new show, I guess is my point. I need to get better at it. But I opened myself up to this and I've loved it pretty consistently. I don't think there's been an episode that I have like even felt criticism towards. Like, it's just great.
It's just great.
I was almost Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
That was almost Michael Caine. What do we do? Why do we fall, Master Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up again. Oh, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Okay. Ooh, well, we got some good ones. Let's start here.
Let's actually get into
Pathos. Watched a couple shows. Speaking of TV, ooh, we got some good ones. Thank you, Munson Holdenwood, for dropping. We see you. We are going to go in order, and thank you for the chunks of text, because that means we have a lot to talk about.
Chunky text.
Chunky text, baby. Finished off Mighty Ducks Game Changers. They had their season finale on Friday, so that was currently airing week to week. Been keeping up with the Bad Batch as well. Can't say I'm enjoying it a ton. On Sunday, I watched Big Jake, a John Wayne movie, which Munson said, Big Jake, nice. I've never seen Big Jake. I have pretty criminally underwatched on John Wayne stuff. I think one that I brought out here with is The Searchers, because I feel guilty for not having seen The Searchers. I feel like my John Wayne might be limited to She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, which is a great John Ford Western with John Wayne that also suffers from the same, colonialist mindset a lot of Ford's Westerns did. But tell us about Big Jake. Other thoughts? Also, Mighty Duck Game Changers. Now, I remember when you started watching this, Pathos, you told us you were into it. You said it was a little more kiddie, but that you were into it. I remember, Stephanie, you were interested in it. I think that actually set us off on our first kind of like, what's your favorite this kind of thing? What's your favorite kids' sports? With Mighty Duck Game Changers, that reminds me of something I saw someone tweet that I thought was pretty astute. They were commenting that all of these different networks try to control the news cycle with their new properties, the Netflix movie that comes out. They want to push Army of the Dead across all platforms, have it get trending. And I saw someone say that Disney Plus has figured it out simply by returning to the cable model of releasing episodes weekly. You control the conversation. You get the news. You get the zeitgeist for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Versus one day.
Yeah.
So I just think it'll be interesting to see if Disney Plus actually, as they keep that market share up, if other streaming services take note, and maybe we do start to see things.
HBO's doing that.
HBO's also doing it, you're right.
Yeah.
I think that we're getting back there.
Yeah.
Which
I like.
I like it too.
I enjoy having options. I enjoy being able to like go back and binge old shows, but also have new releases that are coming out weekly, and you have that, anticipation.
It's the anticipation that not only drives the conversation and is good for these companies because it keeps them top of mind for everybody, But also, and this is a little cheesy, but I often think of television as this great unifying force for American culture, where we have things that used to really, like, obviously back in the golden age of cable in the 50s and 60s, things that everyone gathered around to watch. And now that happens much more infrequently, but we still see it. The Super Bowl, the Oscars, Macy's Day Parade, things that draw millions of viewers. I, for one, am ready to mourn, am far past mourning the death of cable as a format, but the week-to-week release strategy, I do think, is the closest we've come to sort of a communal, like, everyone's coming together to share a story moment. Like, every Friday, everyone's on the edge of their seat for the new WandaVision.
Yeah, that being said, the downside of that is having that coincide with social media. Because for me, like, for example, with Drag Race, if I'm watching Drag Race and I miss a couple days, like, I know I follow so many drag queens. I know, like, I cannot get on Instagram until I watch it.
Yeah, I think the last 2 seasons I've known who the winner was before you did because I'm on Twitter.
Yeah.
The Bad Batch is the new Star Wars show, speaking of Disney Plus. Oh. So you're in the Disney Plus, you're in there, you're in that DP hole.
Okay.
Bad Batch is the new Star Wars show. It is animated. What I could tell was that it was kind of about, like, it was kind of a, like, rough and tumble, sort of like on the edge of the Star Wars universe story. But you're not the first person to say that they don't like it that much. I've also seen it compared unfavorably to Rebels. But yeah, it's, honestly, y'all, there's just I feel like every stream someone says something, usually pathos, that makes me remember that we have, like, so much Mandalorian to watch.
Yeah.
Maybe we can integrate the Mandalorian sequentially into our watch through these movies.
That sounds great.
Okay. It was almost Michael Caine. Scrolling down to catch up. Oh, hey, what up? Great job, nerds. Just seeing that you're here. Amazon do too.
Hey.
Enjoyed Big Jake for the most part. Lots of problematic stuff. Wouldn't be allowed today. Overall, it had a good mix of comedy and action. Interesting. Richard Boone's incredible villain. It's interesting to think of that mix of comedy. Is it a John Ford movie? I have to know.
Jeez, this coaster is really giving me some trouble today.
Big Jake. See now, 1971, so definitely a later John Ford movie. Directed by George Sherman and uncredited direction by John Wayne himself. George Sherman, okay, looked like he worked with Wayne. This is kind of an era of Hollywood that I am, like this, kind of all the big action movies of the 40s, 50s. So he did a lot of Westerns in the 50s. Kind of just like workhorse director. Very interesting. Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of Westerns that are shooting out in Monument Valley, particularly ones with John Wayne, who was like an avowed racist, are particularly anti-native. And unfortunately, some of those movies, like The Searchers, are anti-native, but also represent like a high point in a certain kind of filmmaking, technically. So, yeah, it's really interesting. John Wayne is a complex figure because he's kind of like a villainous figure culturally, but an important figure historically. Yeah. Which I suppose a lot of historical figures are.
Yeah.
Okay, scrolling back up. Oh gosh, you guys, I'm seeing some. You guys watch some fun stuff. Okay, now I want to start playing the double feature game. Jump in if you want to.
Okay.
Starting with Holdenwook. Watch Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, which we've been talking about rewatching for weeks, and Hot Fuzz. These are two of my favorite movies ever. Romeo and Michelle, I've probably seen both these movies over 10 times. But Romeo and Michelle in particular is so watchable.
Oh God, yeah. It's so good. I love that movie.
I sampled, there's a track with my rap group Space Camp in Austin where we each picked a movie sample to put before our verse. And my pick was from the end of Romeo and Michelle, you're a bad person with an ugly heart, and we don't give a flying fuck what you think.
So good.
Tell him, Rumi. Tell him, Michelle. I love that I have to make my voice deeper to get Mira Sorvino's voice in that movie.
It's so good.
Come on, Rumi. Was she Rumi? Who's Michelle?
I think Lisa Kudrow is Michelle.
Okay. Come on, Michelle, you look beautiful in that. I love that movie so much. My shoe's
filling up with blood.
My shoe's filling up with blood. Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, I'm just going to reverse and say double feature it with... double feature it with Booksmart.
Mm-hmm.
Go back. It's like the alternate, like, girl... Or Bill and Ted 3.
Ooh.
Like, just to, like... Because I feel like the daughters in Bill and Ted 3 are very, like, next gen... Like, they're like Romeo and Michelle... If Romeo and Michelle weren't into fashion, but were, like, into skating and music.
Yeah.
They're, like, fun, dumb stoner friends.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's fun. I love that, too. I mean, this is pretty obvious, but you could pair it with Legally Blonde or Clueless. I think those are, tonally all, like, under the same umbrella. It would be funny if you, like, instead of doing things that felt like they went together, what if your double features were always, like, the most opposite you could
Let's
ever
do that.
think of?
That's the game today. The reason that I go the other direction is because my double feature pitches are secretly recommendations for other things you might like.
Mm-hmm.
But let's flip it. Let's invert it because I love that as a game. That's really fun. So Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. We need one that is about. I'm gonna say Bubba Hotep is the opposite.
Okay.
Because Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion is about two young women finding themselves through friendship and getting all of their dreams. But Bubba Hotep is about two old men dying in a nursing home while succumbing to the vanity of their dreams.
Oh boy, watch that one first.
It's great. Have you seen Bubba Hotep?
No.
Oh, it's so good. Hot Fuzz. Honestly, double feature these two. Did you? Because I feel like that would work.
That's a fun Debbie feature.
Yeah, these are just two movies about buds. Also, Hot Fuzz, I still, I think we have enough movies to do it. We probably have too many, but I still want to replicate that closet.
I don't remember the closet.
When Simon Pegg goes over to Nick Frost's place for the first time,
mm-hmm.
and Nick Frost says, "Let's watch a movie," and opens up his doors, and it's just like a wall of movies.
Yeah.
Point Break or Bad Boys 2.
Bad Boys 2.
I love Hot Fuzz so much, and it makes me reminded that we talked about watching the World's End.
Oh yeah.
Part of that Cornetto trilogy, because I think it was Munson who said Cornetto trilogy was like. I think the question we asked last week was, "What's your comfort food?"
Oh yeah, I like that.
So I'm just gonna write that down.
God, my nose is so itchy today.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Hot Fuzz, I would say if you want an opposite double feature, then it needs to be about an opposite double feature, Killing Them Softly. Andrew Dominik's drama about two junkie criminals' lives falling apart after a failed heist in the recession era of Obama's presidency. The total opposite of Hot Fuzz, which is about two cops being great. This is about two criminals failing. But if you want to continue, I mean, Hot Fuzz gives you its movies. It gives you the things that are... It's Bad Boys 2 and Point Break.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would be a fantastically fun day to watch Hot Fuzz and Point Break back to back, I feel like. All right, we're scrolling. Wow, we got some chats.
Ooh.
Killing Them Softly rules. Killing Them Softly is so good, but it's one of those movies I can never remember how it ends. Same, I really love it.
I've never seen that movie.
It's great. I'll write it down. I love Andrew Dominik. I really enjoyed his first movie. Bronson? No, Bronson's not him. Bronson is Drive Dude, Winding Refn. Is it? Am I wrong? Bronson's Nicholas Winding Refn. Is it not? Bronson Andrew Dominik. Chopper is Andrew Dominik. Chopper's great. Eric Bana. And The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. I think Andrew Dominik, masterpiece. And then Killing Them Softly was his follow-up. And Jesse James is this 3-hour historical epic. And Killing Them Softly is a tight 90, gritty crime drama. Anyway, good stuff. Bronson is NWR. Got it. Scrolling back up. Oh, we did double feature Hot Fuzz and Romy, actually. That's
fun.
It's wonderful. Okay. And...
Excuse me.
Okay, the basics of Bad Batch is that an elite group of mutant clones from the Clone Wars are able to somehow defy Order 66 to kill the Jedi and are now being hunted by the newly formed Empire. Oh, that's actually great. That actually sounds like we should watch it right now.
That does sound pretty cool.
Spoiler, because we watched episode 2 and episode 3 in the past week and are ongoing. We'll get into it. Dang, so many great movies this week. Okay. Munson got to go to the theaters, watch Quiet Place Part 2, decent follow-up, but IMO the Well is running dry. Interesting. Cruella, which my girls and I loved, overindulgent and dumb as hell, but the Emmas are fantastic. Sometimes dumb. And at home, watch Good Boys, Snake Eyes, and Basket Case. Oh. So, Good Boys is when that's the Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg movie, right?
I don't know.
Good Boys with the red poster with the 3 kids. We'll watch it.
No bells.
No bells. Quiet Place. I haven't seen Quiet Place 1 or 2. Fun thing about the guys who wrote Quiet Place 1 went to film school in Iowa, where I did, and I had a documentary I made in high school that was at a film fest in Tipton, Iowa, that aired with one of their student films, and it was really weird when I saw the credits for Quiet Place. It was like, oh my god, these guys.
Yeah.
It made me feel great about the state of my career. But seriously though, I've heard the second one is fantastic.
The second movie?
I've heard that the new one got some really high marks, so I'm interested because I haven't seen the first one.
I've heard the opposite. Interesting.
John Krasinski wrote and directed this one, so he's like taken the franchise now.
Huh.
But I honestly don't know much about this franchise. I'm guilty of I'm guilty of being very underseen on newer horror.
Yeah.
It always takes me too long to get around to it. Probably because I marathon so much horror in October that I just kind of like save it. Mm-hmm. Cruella, which I've only seen one thing from, which is the death at the beginning, which was viral on Twitter.
Yeah, we both watched that, and well, it sounds like this review of kind of overindulgent and dumb but fun, and the Emmas.
I love
it. Sounds like a pretty spot on review of what I would anticipate that movie being like.
I'm glad that it was like a good family movie, and I wondered if did it make your girls want to watch 101 Dalmatians? Are they a fan of the animated one? Are they a fan of the Glenn Close one? Like, are y'all gonna go into the 101 DCU and open this stuff up? That's the 101 Dalmatians cinematic universe. Cruella, 101 Dalmatians the original, 101 Dalmatians the live action, 102 Dalmatians, which is the live action sequel. It's boring though, they just get one new dog. And I'm sure there's like 101 and a half Dalmatians or something for straight to video. I'm sure it's not 101 and a half.
1,002 Dalmatians.
Horror movie. And then, okay, so let's see. Quiet Place Part 2. I would say, even though I haven't seen the Quiet Place movies, I'm going to suggest as a thematic double feature, Hush. Because one is about not being able to make any noise, and one is about not being able to hear. And that would be my thematic opposites, but still in the same. Cruella. Now, if Cruella, we need to pick for its opposite. We have to pick an origin story of someone who turns out to be a total hero. Oh, for the opposite of Cruella, I know. Hold on. So close. A Dog's Purpose. It's A Dog's Purpose.
Is that a movie?
Yes.
Or did you just make that up?
A Dog's Purpose is like a movie based on like a, supermarket paperback, hardback.
Or you could just watch like Kung Fu Panda.
Kung Fu Panda. Because he's dressed in white and black fur. But he becomes a hero.
He becomes a hero.
I love Kung Fu Panda.
I love Kung Fu Panda.
I do. KFP.
Kung Fu Panda for life.
Let's order some KFC and watch KFP. Okay.
Oh.
I know, the sun.
I'm like a vampire today.
I'm going to scroll down.
I'm literally like holding my body up on my knees like, all right, we got this. We're good.
Okay, I gotta scroll down to the bottom. Can I say... So, we're skipping around this chat to, like, keep... It's weird because we have the font blown up so that we can both read it. Mm-hmm. But sometimes that means that while we're addressing an old comment, new ones come in. So, I'm just scrolling down. Pathos recommends watching Rebels first. Characters in Bat... This just sounds like poor writing logic. Which, I mean, I feel like is a problem with world... Maybe I'm pulling this out of my ass, but, like... With Star Wars stuff in particular, the world is so much what a lot of times I think producers and writers are like, people are tuning in because it's Star Wars. I think sometimes that takes some of the burden of logic off of the choices characters make.
Yeah.
Because you're there for the context, not necessarily the consequence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe that's bullshit. Yes, you can absolutely say you love Eric Bana, Wedge. I do too. I love that first Hulk. I love Ang Lee's Hulk. I think it is such a wild swing for the fences. I think it's super underrated and came at the wrong time in history, but I love it. Quiet Place is awesome. Cosign, excited to see too. I need to watch. Maybe we can do a double feature of those. And Munson said they are excited to watch the others. We are going to watch the OG. I've heard it is wretched. Is it as wretched as Cruella de Vil's heart? Okay. Okay, and then Good Boys, which is that, I would say Good Boys would be fun to watch with Superbad. Mm-hmm. It feels like they're just, like, slightly older. Good Boys is about, like, here, I'll look up the poster. I think you'll recognize it. It's a bit of a generic title.
Excuse me?
But I think that once you see the poster, you'll...
Gosh, I'm a mess today. Oh,
this ring a bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still wanted to watch this one. I mean, they put Superbad Neighbors and Sausage Party on the poster.
Yeah.
Cool. Haven't seen it. Snake Eyes, we watched a couple years ago, but it's still pretty fresh. I love Snake Eyes. Munson, I'm wondering if you picked up the new Blu-ray. We were actually at Best Buy last week, and I almost got Snake Eyes, because I think it just came out on Blu-ray. Excuse me, but Brian De Palma, Nicolas Cage, obviously, that opening scene is one of my favorite things. The opening, like, not cutting through the boxing ring. Yeah. But that movie, I will say, Snake Eyes is, like, starts here, and then the whole movie just kind of does this.
De-escalation.
And by the time you're done, it's kind of like a poof.
Yeah.
That's how I feel every time I watch it, is I'm like, as soon as it starts, I'm like, I'm fucking hyped! And then the movie just, like, gets progressively less interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember much of the plot, though.
Until you close your snake eyes and go to bed.
I'll just leave it time. And then Basket Case is straight up one of my favorite movies.
This is one I cannot watch.
Basket Case.
Maybe I need to get over it.
You do, because it's fun. It's scary. It's a monster movie.
It scares me, though.
I think that's the...
But the scary movie scares me.
But I think that's the fun of it, is that how often... Like, you get scared of men with knives, malice, one-on-one personal violence. Mm-hmm. When's the last time you were freaked out because a monster was creepy? Like, I think there's like, as creepy as it is, there's an innocent joy in, like, just being freaked out by a monster movie.
I mean, that's a good point.
It's divorced from reality, but it's still gross, and it's like childlike wonder to be scared of a latex puppet. It's kind of amazing to be afraid of a latex puppet. And it's super creepy in this movie, and it's super bloody. The sequels kick ass. So the sequels basically are Henenlotter having full, like, let's just go crazy and create a bunch of creatures. Basket Case 2 and 3 have, like, a whole, like, a very Nightbreed-ish sort of cavalcade of creepy characters that are sweet and sensitive. Basket Case rules. I also just love Henenlotter, Basket Case, Brain Damage, Frankenhooker. He's such an interesting director, and Frankenhooker in particular, I really thought was going to be like trashy sexploitation stuff. There's your ploitation, Holdenwook. But it ended up being like this incredibly feminist commentary on incels and like male entitlement and sex work. I loved it. So I'm all about that Henenlotter. He wins the Henen lottery for me.
Oh no.
Snake Eyes would be a good double feature with
oh boy.
What's
What's a movie that starts slow and then like ramps up to like
Ocean's 11, because it also takes place in a casino. Boom, ba-da-boom, boom, ba-dum, boom, boom.
I feel like that's like what a kid would like, how a kid would double feature something.
Whatever, because Ocean's 11.
No, I just mean because you're like, they both take place in a casino.
Against the Ropes with Meg Ryan. It's a boxing movie. Where you go the boxing direction. Oh, Uncut Gems. Snake Eyes and Uncut Gems.
That's a good Debbie Feach.
Because they're both about like getting fucked over by gambling on sporting events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Oscars. No, I'm just kidding.
And yeah, right. And then Basket Case. What creeps you out about Basket Case?
Isn't it like someone who lives in a basket?
Is it the existential fear of like being that severely restricted in your body that scares you?
I think so.
Yes, it is about his twin brother is like basically.
Yeah, see, I'm good.
As soon as I like do like a bread box.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm good.
I think you should double feature Basket Case with. Scroll down, see if anyone else has any good ideas here. Oh, it was out of print for a bit. I didn't know that. So Munson said, yes, that is where picked up Snake Eyes from Best Buy. Great job, nerds. Saw Basket Case last Halloween. Thought it was fucking nuts. Baffled by the concept, how they pulled it off. Remember you were put off by the twin thing in the body horror, but we talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, if it's the twin thing in the body horror, then, do it with Dead Ringers. There you go.
Another one that I'm like, I'm good.
Twins.
You keep pushing Dead Ringers, and I'm like,
Cronenberg. Dead Ringers is amazing.
I think I'd be much quicker to pull the trigger on watching Dead Ringers than I would Basket Case.
It's interesting.
TBH.
Dead Ringers is, I feel like, way closer to an actual threat. Dead Ringers is about manipulative men. Basket Case is about a monster.
Well, I didn't say I wanted to watch either one.
Okay. Okay, scrolling down. Boone, articulate, smooth, and friendly, but damn scary when he turns it on. That's the best kind of villain, playing back to Big Jake. And Wedge, mayor of Easttown, I don't know how to pronounce that, crashed the servers on HBO this week. That's crazy.
Wow.
As for Game Changers, Mighty Ducks, loved it. Predictable, but loved it. I feel like you don't need to break the mold to be a good kid's show. Mm-hmm. Just have a heart. Great job, nerds. Hasn't on the Bad Batch. Again, we're recapping old chat. Hasn't captured my attention like the other Star Wars cartoons. Fair. Mayor of Easttown. I think there's some discussion down here, so we'll go back to that. And then, real quick, Holdenwook is actually sharing one of my favorite. Well, it's kind of dark, but one of my favorite Hollywood legends, which is The Conqueror. So, I've never seen The Conqueror. Holdenwook watched it years ago after he learned that much of the cast developed cancer due to filming near nuclear test sites. John Wayne played Genghis Khan. So, not only did much of the cast get cancer from it, let's look at the full list. This movie is infamous and insane. So, this movie, okay, yes. This movie resulted, I think, in Dick Powell, the director, John Wayne, and Susan Hayward all died of cancer from filming this movie. Like Susan Hayward and John Wayne, obviously two of the biggest stars of all time, and Dick Powell, I think maybe the screenwriter as well. And yes, much of the extended cast and crew who aren't as famous, and we might not know their names, but the reason is because to do this, and I'm sure it's problematic. It's John Wayne playing Genghis Khan, who also, let's not valorize Genghis Khan either. It's kind of a villain of history. But the reason that so many people got cancer is because they moved sand from the Nevada desert into Hollywood to shoot it. They moved it on site so they could film with real sand. And they didn't. This is before, I suppose, you could buy sand from Home Depot. Anyway, they moved sand in from a nuclear testing site. So basically, the cast and crew shot an entire feature, a costume drama, with hours and hours on set, standing on irradiated sand, and it gave them all cancer. Isn't that insane?
That's wild.
Talk about production insurance.
I was about to say.
Okay. Anyway, that's just one of the most... It's one of those stories that doesn't sound true. And then you look it up and you're like, holy shit. I've never seen that movie. But, okay, watched a couple episodes of Mare and it's fine, but feel like I've seen the same show, same basic plot, same mood, same character motivations. Think it's becoming a trope to take a historically great aging actor, cast them in a dour, dramatic role. Which I feel bad saying Kate Winslet's aging. She's perfect, totes gorge, but you know what I mean. I think that's like the Tarantino effect in a weird way. As like someone, like, it's almost stunt casting, maybe, to say like, oh, you know this person from this era, but now check them out in this context.
Yeah.
I love Kate Winslet. I feel so out of the loop with this particular part of pop culture with the new HBO shows, because the Mayor of Easttown to me sounds like a show that they talk about on 30 Rock. Like, it doesn't sound like... It took me a second to realize this was a thing and it was a show Kate Winslet was in. It's almost like a Mandela thing. When I saw it on HBO, I was like, that's not my universe. You know what I mean? It's just because I'm out of touch. Yeah. It's just because I'm not paying attention.
I don't know anything about the show other than I've seen the splash page for it.
Well, I think what I'm describing is completely being unaware that something exists and then seeing it everywhere overnight. You're like, what?
The Bader-Meinhof frequency illusion.
Is that what that is? Mm-hmm. There you go.
Which I've been experiencing a lot of lately.
Maybe with just the pandemic opening up again.
Maybe, yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, I think that's what it's called, Bader-Meinhof frequency illusion. When you hear someone mention something or you talk about something and then suddenly you're seeing it everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it's just an illusion.
Yellow
obviously.
car.
And then you go you drive by a taxi cab lot.
Like yellow car, or looking for my lucky number everywhere now?
Yeah.
So, I'm interested in watching this show. It's a crime drama. Paul F. Tompkins started today off, y'all know Paul F. Tompkins, the comedian, started today off with a sincere apology on Twitter for spoiling the end of Mayor of Easttown. Because he had made a joke tweet a few days ago. And the funny thing is, he made a joke tweet that was apparently about the ending of the show. I read it, thought it was a funny, just Paul F. Tompkins non sequitur joke, and liked it, and was like, haha, that's a funny joke. Then, today, I saw his apology, saying, I'm sorry for that tweet. I sincerely didn't think that people who hadn't watched the show would know it was a spoiler, which, from personal experience, I'll tell you, I didn't. However, now, I know how that show ends, because I read the joke tweet, and then learned later it was a spoiler. So if I hadn't read his apology... So now Paul F. Tompkins owes me an apology for his apology. Paul, your move.
Here's the phone. I'm waiting by it.
I actually am interested in this. I don't know much about it, but I will say a show I really loved that was also kind of taking people known for maybe poppier things and putting them in dour, dramatic roles to solve a crime in an isolated space, if that's what this is about, is Broadchurch, which is a BBC show with David Tennant and, Olivia Colman. And they are fantastic in it. I really recommend Broadchurch. If you like it. Maybe we should watch Mayor. Maybe I should watch it. I don't have to watch everything together. Okay.
You do when you have one TV.
That's right.
No, I'm just kidding, y'all.
Okay, yes, you do need to watch Dead Ringers. Great job, nerds. Heartily encourage that. Best villain ever. Hugh Grant in Paddington 2. We need to watch the Paddington movies.
Oh, yes.
Golly gee. What a massive thing to do. Right there. Wow. Best villain ever. Co-signed by Wedge.
Ooh. I am intrigued.
And The Conqueror answered your own question. Best villain ever? Absolutely in all caps. Abby says you should watch it. I'm gonna watch it only because Abby said that I should watch it.
Same.
Not because of you, Wedge, or Great Job, nerds. I'm seriously gonna... I will actually watch it so that we have thoughts for Abby. I'm actually gonna write her name down next to it. We'll watch those this week. Broadchurch is super grim, but it's just acted to the nines. It's truly like a... I mean, that's the BBC format. Act the shit out of it.
We haven't seen Paddington.
We haven't seen either.
I feel like Paddington is just gonna be a time for me to cry.
We could watch Paddington after the stream.
Okay.
Help you.
Get my Kleenex.
Get your Kleenex. Get your... Yeah, y'all. I just missed it. Great Job Nerds is just an ellipses here.
Everyone's like, okay, what?
Credibility lost.
I love
Show
how much.
over.
I love how much everyone is throwing down for Paddington.
Yeah, people love this movie.
I didn't know that.
Oh no? Do you know that Paddington 2 recently dethroned? And side note, Rotten Tomatoes is Rotten Tomatoes is a very flawed system because it's a percentage of positive reviews, not a net aggregate of total score. So you could get a high Rotten Tomatoes by having several passing grades. Anyway, I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes as a system. I don't like it when Rotten Tomatoes numbers are referenced as a argument for a movie's quality because I don't see them as the same thing. I see it as a popularity meter. How likely is it that you will have a good time at this movie? Anyway, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't change the fact that it's very amusing that Paddington 2 just... someone just discovered an archival contemporary review.
Contemporary review.
That's hard.
Contemporary
contemporary review for Citizen Kane.
Oh, okay.
That then got added to Rotten Tomatoes and knocked it from 100 down to 99, which makes Paddington 2 now the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes with a perfect 100.
You go, Paddington.
I know. It's cute. Paddington is perfect and Paddington 2 is perfecter.
Aww.
Just buy it,
Aww.
says Wet.
Okay.
Says Nerds, just buy it. Enjoy, you dummies. Oh no, you can say that. It's okay to be shocked that someone hasn't seen something. Just don't be mean about it. This is the difference between me being like, oh, you haven't seen Star Wars, and me being like, the fuck, you fucking idiot.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Which is what I'm thinking, but I don't say it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really stoked on watching these. Okay, we'll watch them. Paddington. Is there a fun Paddington 2-pack? Let's look it up. Paddington. I just hit Paddington 2-pack Blu-ray. Paddington 1 and 2 Blu-ray box set on Amazon. Oh, he's adorable on it.
Oh no, he's too cute.
He's too cute.
Oh, you know why? You know why I am anticipating crying? Because I watched the preview for Paddington and I bawled.
You did?
It was either Paddington or Paddington 2, but it's the one where he's like sitting on a park bench.
Well, look,
Anyways.
I just found it was put out by Studio Canal, who's the same company who put out this gorgeous Boonwell box set. And they put out a 2-part box set in Britain, so we can buy the British Blu-ray if you want. But we can save our money also. No,
Should we get into what we watched?
Yeah, I have to take a bathroom break.
Oh boy.
I've had all this coffee, all this water.
We're struggling. I'm struggling. I'll speak for myself.
Are you doing okay?
I'm doing all right.
I think we're in a safe space with friends here.
I think, like I said, I'm kind of holding up my body weight on my knees right now.
Well, here's the thing. We don't really have a movie club discussion today, right?
It's a sad world I live in today.
The thing is, like, the movie club is going to be cut short because no one watched the movie, including us.
Including us.
We are rolling it over, letting it ride. Let it ride. We only have 4 tapes to talk about for new arrivals. It's going to fly by. So, movie club is just going to be us talking about maybe how we negotiate moving from Hong Kong to queer cinema for Pride Month. Mm-hmm. And we'll go through what we watched. So, it's going to be a shorter stream, is my point. To you, have heart. It's going to be fun. And we're not gonna go for a full 3 hours tonight. So, but if you want to help me rationalize buying Paddington 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, feel free. Wedge says watched for the first 2 years ago and watched it every month since. Wow.
Wait, what?
I'm serious that people like.
That's amazing.
I truly feel as though I've like missed the Wizard of Oz of our time.
Well, I'm very excited about Paddington and Paddington 2. Okay, so I guess while Adam's gone, I will quickly talk about, I did mention Shrill. Again, if you haven't seen Shrill, I think you should watch Shrill. But another show that I started watching this week, and y'all tell me if you've seen this, is Worn Stories. Has anybody watched Worn Stories on Netflix? I think it's a Netflix original. It is a show about clothing, which I believe started as a book, or maybe a collection of books, or a collection of essays. I think Munson, I think that's done. Like, it's talked up. I'm prepared for greatness. Like I said, I am anticipating probably weeping openly, because anything that has to do with animals, hilarious. Babe 2, Pig in the City, I think after Adam watched it, one of the first things he said to me was, you would have cried through that whole movie. Like, there's something with, like, sweet talking animals that just cuts me to the core. I cannot explain it. It makes me cry like a baby. So just anticipate tears on the stream next week as I talk about Paddington and how it broke my heart in a good way. But anyways, back to Warren Stories. If anyone has watched that show, please let me know in the chat. Each episode kind of focuses on a different theme surrounding clothing. I think I'm on episode 5 right now. They're like mini docs. My favorite so far, I think my favorite one so far has been the uniforms episode. The reason I really love this show is, like I said, it's like little mini docs, which I love. Y'all know I love documentaries. But I also love that, like, the interstitials are all different types of animation. So there's, like, stop motion, there is, like, collage art, there's claymation, there's all sorts of really cool puppetry, felt work, felting, I don't know. Mention Day Too Late we already did, but it really does live up to it. Oh, great. Yeah, there we go. Great job, nerds. So yeah, all of, like, the reenactments and the interstitials are all different types of animation, and I think it's really cool. It's really dynamic. It's a really interesting method for storytelling, and the stories themselves. I feel like the show, the order of the episodes is really interesting because it kind of eases you into the concept and then, like, brings up some more, like, well, I don't want to say heavy. I just feel like the show's been ramping up, and I think it's really interesting, the order of the episodes.
Warren Stories?
Uh-huh.
I saw that. It looked interesting. I mean, I didn't watch it. I saw the tag for it on your Netflix, I think, on your account scroll.
Yeah. I really appreciate it. As someone who, you know, has been a clothing retailer,
Mm-hmm.
I used to run a clothing store, and somebody who's been a stylist and just loves clothes in general. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's great. If you're going to watch any of the episodes so far, the one I would recommend if you just want to throw one on is Uniforms.
Uniforms?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's great.
I'll just write it in the chat. Also, we got a little bit of more what did we watch from our chat here. Warren Stories, like war stories, right?
Mm-hmm. Just like that.
Cool. Take note. I just gleeked.
Yeah, highly recommend. Well, here we are.
Sorry, I just didn't want to move on too quick if you had other thoughts.
No, it's good. I forget who at the top of the chat said that their throat was sore from talking.
Yeah,
I feel weirdly the same. Like, I feel like my voice is, like, weak. It's like a sad little.
We're all, you know what all this reminds me of coming out of pandemic is the scene in The Matrix when Neo's just been freed. He goes, "Why do my eyes hurt?"
Uh-huh.
And Tank goes, or Morpheus says, "You've never used them before."
Yeah, right? You know what's something interesting, not to linger on, like, post-pandemic life too much, but something I've noticed is how sensitive I am to smells.
Huh.
Like,
out in the world?
Out in the world, yeah. Like, the few times that we've gone out, the next day I smell my clothes and I'm like, whoa, that smells like a different place.
It's okay, Aziz.
I probably could do a pretty good Aziz.
I think you could. I don't know why you're not trying to do that. Get on TikTok.
It smells like a different place. No, it sounds so silly, but it's like you forget that, like, you've been smelling the same smells.
Yeah,
for
that's a good point.
A year. And I'm like, like, where did we go? That Fox and Hound place we went last week? The next day I smelled my clothes and I was like, oh man, I forgot that smell. See, I'm doing it. Oh man, I forgot that smell.
Oh man.
It's like that mildewy old liquor smell of a bar where you walk in, you're like, kind of smells like vomit.
But they cleaned it.
Up.
What does LA smell like? Says Great Job Nerds. And to this I say, pretty much like Texas. Pretty much like the world smells, except, hold on. I would say that downtown, honestly, I don't know if there's a smell. It's not like New York where it's like, oh, it smells like poop.
I was just going to say our neighborhood smells incredible.
That's what I was going to say. Where it's not like, I'm trying to think, what would the city smell be? But it's not like New York where you're like, you have like, you know, like sewer and train and grease and all those things, like having a city smell. Like, when we're downtown or in Hollywood, it doesn't really smell any different than any downtown, like, concrete people. But our neighborhood has so much honeysuckle and rosemary in it. We have giant rosemary bushes right outside of our place. So,
and gardenias.
So everything smells actually very floral and bright and nice around here. It is really nice.
Pretty nice.
Pedro says smells like horse around here. Great Job Nerd says New York smells like garbage water. Yeah. Great Job Nerds, mildewy old liquor kind like vomit. Yep. That's that familiar bar smell. Oh shit. Oh, and then we missed Wedge saying Liz watched Cars 3 on the plane. Says it was cute but forgettable. I mean, I believe that for Cars. And Saving Mr. Banks, which we have just talked about how we wanted to watch, said was so good. Anything Emma Thompson or Tom Hanks is in is great. Haven't watched Saving Mr. Banks because I think I know too much of the actual history of Disney to see a studio produced a picture about him. Wedge, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. This is honestly really close to something we've been talking about because we just watched a few archival clips. I think I talked about it on the show. But a few archival clips from these Disneyland USA and Tomorrowland. These are archival television episodes of the Disneyland Hour that Disney produced and hosted from the 50s, where it is explicitly about those ideas. And we also about his ideas. We also watched a great episode of Defunctland. Excuse me, Man, I feel like everything makes me burp. Beer used to make me burp, and now that we do this earlier in the day, the coffee makes me burp. Sorry. If you're grossed out by that, I am sorry for losing you as a friend. But we went into a Disney ride rabbit hole the other day.
Oh man, that was great.
Because we love Disneyland, and we spent like 3 hours watching videos on YouTube of Disneyland ride-throughs, retired rides, stories about Defunctland episodes.
Yeah, there's actually a whole series on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of you know about it. It's called Defunctland, and it's all about this. Their episodes can be a little meandering, you know.
I mean, I'm there for it, to be honest. We did get linked over to someone else's episode. It was like a sister network, a friend of the guys, and we didn't like that one as much.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
But, and Pathos, Horse and Corn, so many cornfields around here.
Horse and Corn.
You guys have to watch their series on the Muppet TV shows. Okay, we will.
Okay.
And Great Job Nerds saying is excited. Y'all watching Defunctland? I've deep dived into it. So yes, we will be watching it. I wouldn't say we're watching Defunctland. I will say we watched 3 episodes of it the other day in a row, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But bringing this back to Disney, one of the things in there was about the history of the Black Cauldron ride at Disneyland Tokyo, and how in particular a big part of the context for it was talking about how Disney didn't know what to do, and they felt like they were quote unquote rummaging through Walt's trash bin for ideas. And I just turned to Steph and I was like, how insane is it that like this entire company who has theme parks across the world and is producing these giant movies at one point in the 70s and 80s, because Walt had died, were scrambling to find their sense of identity. How much does that mean? That means that it was him. That means like all of these ideas, like granted he, was a terror and a terror to many of his employees, and like bad employer by most standards of like union fair work. Taking all that aside and just making it about the ideas he had, it's incredible. And I think that was the line we were walking, is like, I would love to watch some sort of biographical biopic, if you will. Saving Mr. Banks came up, but then even we were like, yeah, I want to watch that, but it's so much, how do you take it with the grain of salt for how he actually was, and where is the real Disney, and how do we acknowledge that it's insane that an entire company almost went under because one man wasn't there to tell them what to do. To what degree of creative leadership is that? Really a degree of creative leadership that maybe hasn't been ever happened before or since. Maybe P.T. Barnum, but like
Steve Jobs.
But not in such like Steve Jobs in a tech, but if you're talking about the entertainment industry, you could say Kevin Feige built the MCU, but does he have? I guess he has TV shows now, but like maybe Kevin Feige will be there if he starts opening theme parks. But even that, he's a movie producer ultimately. Yeah. Walt Disney was a movie producer, an animator, an experimental filmmaker, engineer, a theme park builder. He's a visionary, but he was also not a good dude.
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated. Anyway, I want to watch Saving Mr. Banks. Sorry for the rant, y'all.
No, it's okay. I do too.
We really went down like the path on like, I want to know. It just blows my mind that they're like in the 70s, after Walt Disney's passing, they didn't know what movies to make. And it's like all of the movies you made up until that point were his idea. You didn't have a single.
I think it is because, he was all over the map, and there, he was innovating and kind of creating like a new genre, a new like
medium,
yeah.
He's the first person to do like a 360 storytelling with like every part of life is impacted.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason that you can get Walt Disney, for better or for worse, is a huge part of the reason that you could buy BB-8 Tangelos when Force Awakens was out.
Yeah.
You could, because they're round, so it's Star Wars branded. Anyway, changed the world for better and for worse. But fascinating. If anyone has any, I guess my point here is that we want to watch Mr. Banks, but if anyone has anything that's like a good flip side to the coin or a counter argument, like maybe something that's a more accurate or less flattering history of Disney, I think we would also gobble that up, and it might make for a really interesting W Feach.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into what we watched?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome possum. By the way, I wanted to say that we are going to get into Pride Month stuff, but did you notice that I made a secret Pride flag back here?
That's so cute.
I tried to make it the fully inclusive one with white, pink, blue, brown, black, and then the rainbow here. But it's my little Easter egg that I'm just giving away now.
I was about to say, it's an Easter egg no more. It is not.
Okay, we watched... Okay. Oh, we actually watched a good deal. First of all, we watched Hitchcock's Rope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched this almost a year ago exactly. 1958. 80 minutes long. Mm-hmm. My goodness, with the acid reflux today. I'm sorry, I'm an old man.
So am I.
Rope. Shout out if you've seen Rope, 1958 Alfred Hitchcock movie. This movie is made to look like it happens in almost one shot. There's a few cuts that are very deliberately to shock you into a new scenario, but for the most part, this movie is... I'm just going to look it up. I wanted to say 8 shots. I think it's maybe a little more than that, but it's an 80-minute tight movie about really like an American Psycho type character who thinks he's better than everyone else, who kind of represents like the pinnacle of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And this like very conniving, like I'm better, it's this pure supremacist logic of like I'm better, therefore the rules don't apply to me.
Yeah.
And then his weakling friend, who is really only weak because he has a conscience, and then really just them gradually getting sniffed out for their crime by oh my God, Jimmy Stewart, right? Mm-hmm. Who is turning in a fantastic performance.
Oh God, I love him as an actor so much.
Me too.
So much. It is a very like. It's interesting you say supremacy because I didn't really like I mean, obviously I saw that in the film, but I didn't like mentally pinpoint that word. But it is like somebody saying, not only can I get away with murder, I can flaunt it.
And I deserve to. And it's a privilege because I'm smart enough and better.
Yeah.
He says the superiors and the inferiors.
Yeah. This movie is great.
It is great.
I highly recommend Rope.
By the way, 10 cuts. 10 cuts.
10 cuts?
Total. Including the hidden ones.
Sorry. I just saw Wedge say that Wedge's mom got a kiss on the cheek. I almost fainted.
Wow.
Jamie Stewart is one of my first celebrity crushes.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
I love that.
I am like so utterly charmed by him. I don't know how he was in real life. He could have been like, I don't know. Does anyone know? Somebody tell me.
Don't look it up.
don't Google it. Please.
That is incredible. How did that happen, Wedge? Can you give us any you don't need to write a whole, write as much as you want, but no pressure. Just any context there.
You want the moan? I'll give you the moan.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Throw a lasso.
It's a Wonderful Life.
I don't even know what the words are. Yes.
What a fantastic picture that is. Jimmy Stewart is really like incredible as this calm, and he kind of plays like, you get the sense in Rope that it really is about the power of words versus actions, the power of believing you're better versus like, it really is kind of like, what if all of your idle chatter about like, what if all the things you engaged with your friends in about like dark talk was taken literally?
Yeah.
And I think the beauty in this movie, not to spoil anything, but a big part of what makes Jimmy Stewart's performance so incredible is his level. He gets to play both kind of like sleuth and disappointed parent, but like devastated parent.
Yeah. Like
he feels guilt. Like it is about the power of influence and male influence.
Yeah.
It's also like basically Hitchcock. It's basically Edgar Allan Poe's like Telltale Heart, but if there was no guilt.
Yeah.
It's like Telltale Heart, but the one character who gets drunk the whole time would be maybe the main character of Telltale Heart, which does feel guilt. But then what if you put on a sociopath who is flaunting it? Yeah. It's like Telltale Heart reversed. Also, it is told in real time, which is really fun.
It's really fun, and I think you mentioned either before or after we watched it that it felt like watching a play. It very much feels like watching a play, which is probably one of the reasons I liked it so much. It simultaneously feels like very evergreen and very like classic, but also modern.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because Hitchcock is doing things that are just, he's making the precise right move, and there's not really a modern way to do that move. It's the right move.
Yeah.
So it's going to feel modern.
Yeah.
But it's also very classically staged. One thing that blew my mind in watching this movie was if you're telling a story without cuts, you can't do this shot reverse shot. You can't put a camera behind her and a camera behind me. You have to frame it so that everyone's visible and the dynamic is there that you want. And the way the camera moves and the blocking, especially the characters blocking, is everything in this. But the way they are blocked to both be in frame as for dialogue, and the way that the camera ever so slightly favors someone keeps everything feeling dynamic, but it also does make it feel like a stage play. But it's the cinematic evolution of the play.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a story. First of all, Pathos says, mentioned a few months ago, grandfather served in WWII alongside Jimmy Stewart and also recently learned Walter Matthau as well. That's incredible.
Wow.
I think when we watched Memphis Belle, we talked about that, but I had forgotten, and that's awesome, Walter Matthau as well. Wedge says, she was a producer at NBC, and he was in town. He was producing a segment. She went to ask for an autograph. He didn't have a pen, so I gave her a kiss instead. That sounds amazing.
Excuse me, I just choked thinking about how amazing that is. She said he was lovely. Yes.
Oh my god.
Wow, what a roller coaster.
I just want to imagine that you just got choked up. That's what that was.
No, I actually choked on my own spit,
choked.
But then I got really excited because Wedge said she was lovely.
What's a Jimmy Stewart role that maybe we should watch? Anyone got any favorite Jimmy Stewart roles? Because I feel like I've only really seen some of the big ones.
Yeah.
You know, we got more than a few in our Hitchcock box set we've been wanting to work through.
Yeah, that's true.
The Man Who Knew Too Much, North by Northwest, Vertigo, Rear Window. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were...
Oh, boy.
They were working together.
That's great. That's great. I am a mess today. I feel like a bumbling little baby today. Whose head is too heavy for its body.
That's kind of cute. Okay, we'll keep going, but let us know if you have any, seriously, recommendations, anything that any of this makes you think about. We'll keep talking about what we watch. Watched a movie called Waxworks. Waxworks is, it's hiding. It's behind this. Waxworks is a 1924 movie directed by Paul Lenny. It was one of the movies he made, I believe, in the States. Yeah, I think it was produced at MGM after he moved. Or maybe it's a German movie. No, it's German. He made it before he came to the States. Das Waxfigurenkabinett is its original title. This, I feel like, is such an evergreen structure for a movie. It had a little disclaimer beforehand saying that 25 minutes of footage had been lost to history. And so the movie has 4 vignettes that are whittled down to 3, because one of them is presumably what's missing. Mm-hmm. As you noted, I bet it's that character.
Yeah.
But it's essentially the framing device of a wax museum. A guy is hired to write little stories to bring people in off the street for every wax figure that's in there. And we get a little story about... who are the different characters that we get? Was Genghis Khan one of them?
No.
They're all kind of like
totally blanking.
Historical figures.
Historical bad
Historical
guys.
Scary figures, yeah. Baddies. Here, let's see here.
And the zaddies.
Anthology film. It is an early anthology film. I don't even know the framing. It's an anthology film.
Yeah, you said that after we watched
it.
Did
I?
Yeah.
It's just... Okay.
That was like one of the... You were like, oh, that was an anthology film.
Well, never mind. Then I'm just... Okay, so Harun al-Rashid is the first one. This is why we don't remember it, is because this is a historical figure that maybe was more... I've literally never heard. Mm-hmm. Jack the Ripper is kind of how the movie ends. They call him Spring-Heeled Jack, which I think is a UK term.
Yeah.
Or European term. However, it really stands out. I think the meat of this movie, or my favorite thing about it, the bad boys of history, that's right. It's the historical boys of comedy tour. But the Ivan the Terrible section, Ivan the Terrible is played by Conrad Veidt, who was also the somnambulist bad guy in Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Really an incredible silent film actor who is really scary as Ivan.
Yeah.
Like, really evil.
Very scary. That was definitely my favorite segment as well. I really like the conceit of this movie, and also you made a joke, which I thought was funny, but also, yes, let's do it, about watching through the Waxiverse.
The Wax Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Which is, because this theme, this as a framing device for anthologies, most notably in this movie, Waxwork, note the lack of an S, Waxwork, which is basically a remake from the 80s with all of the segments, dialed up and a little more gory, which also had a sequel. And then you have 1933, Mystery of the Wax Museum. You also have House of Wax with Vincent Price, one of William Castle's movies, and the first major motion picture to go out 3D from Warner Brothers in 1953 with Vincent Price, which is about an evil wax museum proprietor trapping young women and encasing their bodies in hot wax, which was remade with Paris Hilton in 2005, 52 years later. 2005, a half a century later. And then you also have Dario Argento's remake of, he produced it, the remake of House of Wax, The Wax Mask, which is just the plot of House of Wax, but gorier and Italian horrored out. But yeah, there's a whole world of I think the Wax Museum is sort of like that. First of all, they've been around forever, to the point where movies in the 20s are being made. Second of all, they do inspire that imagination, and I think it does make sense as a springboard to say, what's a way in which we can do a bunch of fun, scary little vignettes? Wax museums are creepy.
Yeah.
Anyway, this movie isn't my favorite Paul Enny movie, but the Ivan the Terrible segment was definitely a standout. And I think for 80 minutes, it's definitely worth it for fans of... We used to do this on the show. We'd say who we recommended it to.
Oh, yeah.
I would recommend it to... If you like silent films, and especially silent horror, make sure this is on your list. If maybe you're only going to watch a few and it's not quite your bag, I think I would push for The Last Warning, which is the same director. The Last Warning is, I think, his strongest movie that I've seen. But Waxworks is fun. Okay.
We got a rec for the Philadelphia Story in the chat here. That sounds great. Also, Katharine Hepburn is probably my number one fashion icon of all time.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. If
you don't know, now you know. She is like, wow. Just give it a goog.
Nice. I like how Munson also, we were on the same page as, we gotta hydrate.
Oh, thank God.
Munson, we were on the same page with the Waxwork 1 and 2. I don't have 2 on tape, but the Vestron DVDs are around here somewhere. I used to rent this one, Waxwork. I used to rent all the time as a kid because I wasn't allowed to rent R-rated movies, but this one simply says uncensored on it. And, you know, honestly, what is the description? Inside the Wax Museum, a group of teenagers are aghast at the hauntingly lifelike wax displays of Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy. So what is my mom going to be like, oh, this is terrible? No, this is like, it's honestly not that bad for kids. I think it's not super gory. It's just fun. It's honestly just good monster fun. But because my mom didn't know what the difference between uncensored and R was, I got to rent this a lot as a kid because it didn't have an R on it. And it will always be a part of my soul. What I honestly just am now remembering, though, in reading this, is what's really cool is that for being a remake, Waxworks is operating among the villains of its time, historical villains, because this was 1924, movies were new, we didn't have movie villains yet. There were literary villains and historical villains, and it's more likely because pop culture was not maybe venerated in the same way, where people didn't need to see a wax figure of Oliver Twist, but there was a wax figure of Ivan the Terrible and Vlad the Impaler and all the scary people throughout history. I love how in the remake and the update, they're classic movie monsters. They're the Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's a fun idea. Kind of like my friend Louie's idea for Monster Squad 2, which in Monster Squad 2, this is Louie's idea, full credit, but I would love to make this movie at some point in my life. First Monster Squad is all the Universal horror monsters. Mm-hmm. Monster Squad 2, and this would be an IP nightmare, but is all of those kids grown up and their kids having to fight their movie monsters from their generation. So it'd be Freddy, Michael, Jason, Chucky, all them. Whatever. That'll never happen. It's an IP disaster. Hydrate.
I need to. That sounds amazing, though. Thank you for redeeming those points, and yeah.
I'll pay those. Just learned that one of his friends is in the hospital because her baby's on the way. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
This is a really special show that we can share these moments in real time with each other. That's awesome.
I agree. Yay!
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's wonderful.
And thank you, Munson, also for Philadelphia Story. I always forget about that. And I need to watch it.
Yeah, that's on my queue.
So what else did we watch? Waxworks, The Sixth Sense. Okay, I watched The Sixth Sense and The Ring. Speaking of double features. Mm-hmm. The Ring, I watched because we talked about it last week. Wedge, I know that you said it was one of your favorite horror movies, or one of the movies that scared you the most when you first saw it. And I wanted to revisit it. So it's amazing. It's fantastic. Really fun double feature with Sixth Sense because both of them, they're wildly different movies, but both of them involve a single mother with a kid who is somehow tied to the supernatural. In both movies, that kid does a drawing at school that erases the concern of their teachers. And in both movies, that kid attends the funeral for a young girl that they don't know and goes into that girl's bedroom to find some secret. Fun little crossover there for double feature territory. The Ring was fantastic. It's interesting how it you can see the techniques of horror of its time coming through, but the way that it has such a continually, like, I think what works so much about that movie is it's a big Hollywood movie, you know, like, it's basically cast like a prestige drama. They brought in Gore Verbinski to direct it. It's DreamWorks. You don't normally associate DreamWorks with horror. So it's like classic Hollywood horror, like The Haunting, or man, I'm totally blanking. I guess my point is that often horror is thought of to be on the fringe of Hollywood and not like a studio product. But when studios do it, there's often this weird like classical formalism to it, and I feel like it's like this prestige to it. Sometimes that can hinder a horror movie and take its teeth away. In the case of The Ring, I think it actually makes it really kind of an interestingly operatic, well-footed drama, first and foremost. And it just has this tone of dread throughout the whole thing. I thought it was awesome. And then Shyamalan, yes, I want to get back to that in a second because I have mad thoughts. And Wedge, real quick while we're on The Ring, the deaths are so telegraphed and it works. You know it's coming, but you don't want it to happen, and it's really terrifying from what I can remember. I would agree, having just watched it a few days ago, but that's scarier to me. Tell me if you agree. Two scenarios. Mm-hmm. One is a character walking down a dark hallway. They are by themselves, and all of a sudden they're grabbed by a dark figure and taken into a closet. Mm-hmm. That's scary. But now, do the same scene, but instead of having that dark character pop out, have them just walking behind them slowly, and they don't see them, but you do.
Yeah, to me, that's way scarier. Yeah.
Knowing it's going to happen, and then seeing it happen, it's the feeling of hopelessness. It's honestly why Drag Me to Hell is one of my favorite movies.
I was about to say that, and also, well, I had a point. What are those movies? Come on.
The Rugrats movie.
No.
Funny Games. Yes. Writing it down because we keep forgetting to watch it.
Final Destination.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. I see that.
Woo! Hello. Final Destination. Those movies are like, you know, obviously not groundbreaking cinematically, but I think the conceit that you're going, you know, obviously, like,
I love those movies.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes them so scary, and I think that's why the reason they're a franchise. Why the reason they're a franchise?
It also works because we all love Rube Goldberg machines, and if you make the end result someone's head getting cut off, it's just going to be a crowd pleaser.
That's true.
Wedge loves them as well. Final Destination junkie, love it, right there with you. Evil Dead, yes, the dread of not being able to escape. It's just gonna, although Evil Dead gives you hope. I think the hopelessness is what's like, if you just see a character and you just have to slowly watch them meet a fate you know is inexorably headed towards them. I love that. Okay, we will get back to Shyamalan in 1 second, I swear. Really quick, scene from Mulholland Drive. Yes, just like that. Walking, you know what I'm talking about?
I've never seen that movie.
Oh, well then let's not talk anymore. We're going to watch it. Okay.
That's on our queue shelf as well.
That is. I'll just write this down. Oh no, it's up there. Shyamalan. Sixth Sense. I got so emotional watching The Sixth Sense. I have a few thoughts. This movie's a masterpiece. It's really unfortunate that it became known for its catchphrase and for its reveal, its twist. Because this is back in a period of culture when right now we have a 24-hour news cycle. If The Sixth Sense was to come out on Netflix tomorrow, it would be buzzing, it would be trending on Twitter for 3 days, and then we'd move on. But at the time, we didn't have that, and so things remain in the zeitgeist and mimetic for much longer. There's also a big period of time between theatrical and home video release that allows things to cook and then come back into the market, back to top of mind. Because of that, The Sixth Sense had a long tail. It was spoofed into oblivion. The number of I See Dead People riffs, the number of twists that other Hollywood studios, and I've talked about this before. We've talked about this before with sometimes studios not understanding why something worked. I use The Matrix as an example. It doesn't work because of it's not the classic that it is because of its action choreography, that's just something that makes it stand out. It is the classic that it is because of the way it integrated pop philosophy into the action format. And Sixth Sense is similar. It's not the twist that makes this movie work. This is a brilliant Hitchcockian drama that manages to make ghosts scary again, and also has a human heart to it. So anyway, rant aside, it's unfortunate that this movie became known for a few things, because what stood out to me upon rewatch is how deeply kind it is. Like, it has such a kind heart about it. Everyone in this movie, the two main characters, Cole, Haley Joel Osment, who I think is delivering maybe the best child actor performance of all time.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
He's incredible. And everyone is rising to this kid. Bruce Willis, Toni Collette, they're delivering incredible performances because Haley Joel Osment is coming with such a sincerity and depth and vulnerability to his performance. It's nuts to see this kind of... and that's why the character works, because you believe this kid is that emotionally attuned because of the curse of having to be someone who shepherds the dead. Anyway, this movie's incredible. Unbreakable is also incredible. That's my favorite Shyamalan, but I think it's unfortunate that he got pushed into this because I think M. Night Shyamalan was always a dramatist. I think he was always more of a Robert Wise and a Hitchcock than he was a William Castle. I don't think he was ever in it for the twist, in it to get one over on the audience. But that's what the studios wanted from him, especially after Unbreakable failed. And that's why I think his output after that suffered for a while. I kind of think he's on his way back, but I do wonder what is the alternate reality in which M. Night Shyamalan's instincts for character development and drama and kindness through genre, what if those had been the things that we had encouraged instead of just surprise me with the ending?
Yeah, he has a new movie coming out, right?
He does. I'm really excited for it. Okay, so now I'm going to read what you said after I've done my bit on The Sixth Sense, because I sincerely was moved by this movie. Shyamalan's movies have been hit or miss. Love the first two. Yes. Follow Up, Unbreakable, Split. That's great. Signs. I don't like Signs at all, personally, because I think Signs kind of falls into the trap of what I'm talking about. It has a twist that doesn't make sense, and it sacrifices character development for that twist. Vacuum.
Real quick, while you scroll through, this is very silly, but the vacuum made me think of... I just realized that I mentally referenced two Shyamalan movies in weird quirks about our life. I don't know. I just realized that they were both Shyamalan movies. First one is, especially when we lived in Austin, Adam would always leave like 5 half-drunk glasses of water around. And I would always, like, in my head be like, oh, he's signsing again.
That's funny. I didn't know.
And now it just made me think of, because of our naughty neighbor, I've gotten into a bad habit here because our cabinets are all like sticky. And so a lot of times, especially at night, I'll just leave them open.
To not make noise.
To not make noise, because they go, pop, they like pop when you open them. And I've started thinking in my head that I'm Sixth Sensing.
I love that. That legit surprised me. I'd forgotten most of those moments in that movie.
I love that movie. Now, I did not rewatch this movie with you, but I've seen this movie a million times. It's also one of the first movies that I got really obsessed with the features, the special features.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for a lot of us because it was one of the first tapes. It came after the movie.
Yep.
It was like a feature on the color red.
Exactly.
And it makes you immediately want to rewind and watch it again.
Totally. I remember when they were like, oh, the color red shows up right before a ghost shows up every time. And I was like...
Exactly. Well, I think this movie, in that way, through the special features and that, particularly the color red thing that I think we all remember, this is one of the first things that taught us to be critical, how to be critical and to notice details in the movies we watch. Thematic mise-en-scène shit.
Mm-hmm. Thematic mise-en-scène shit.
That's right. The Last Airbender was bad. I will agree with you there, Pathos. Mm-hmm. Scary movie where he says, I see white people, does make me laugh. But it's not that joke's not funny. It's just that, like, this movie, it's too bad it got meme-ified into a point where it, like, is hard to see as a fresh thing. Sixth Sense holds up so good. Agreed. White chicks like Scary Movie. I like Scary Movie, too. Haley Joel Osment nailed it. Yes, he does. Yes. And this is also when he was in the car with his mom toward the end of the movie and finally revealed his secret.
I just got chills thinking about that scene.
Yeah, I mean that made me cry. And Toni Collette, like,
oh, Toni Collette's so good.
Brings it.
Isn't Haley Joel Osment like a lawyer now or something?
No, he's an actor.
Oh,
and he's
is?
Cool as shit. He's in a few Kevin Smith projects, and he popped up on Silicon Valley in a recurring role.
Oh, that's so fun.
He's kind of like back in the mix doing like character work, you know? I'd like to think that he's loaded from Sixth Sense and just picks up roles for fun.
Yeah.
But he's like got a very lovable energy as an adult. Like it actually made me really happy when I was watching Sixth Sense on Amazon. You know, they do that X-ray thing when you pause it and show you who the actors are. And I paused it, and the image of him next to his name was him as an adult, and I was like, hell yeah, you made it. Because like so much of the time, you know, it's a picture of them as a kid, and I did 2 roles. Not to say that was, maybe they have a totally healthy life by leaving Hollywood, but I'm glad that he was able to like negotiate the way through adolescence and into adulthood, and then return to acting.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just happy for him. He's a person I like.
That's great.
Yeah. Toni Collette, she does have a history of being in horror. Sam Neill as well, very much so. Sam Neill really got his start in genre cinema. He is in Tusk, that's right. Yes.
I've never seen Tusk.
Tusk is...
I feel like Tusk would scare me.
Some people out there might, like, tell me, Adam, you're an idiot, it's terrible. I think Tusk is kind of a marvelously weird and great horror movie. It would scare you. Tusk is fucking great, says Nerds. Yes, agreed. It is great. Do you know the plot?
I used to know a plot. I know that there's like body horror, which is why I think it would scare me. Isn't it kind of like a Fly situation? Yeah,
it's like if you know that old French movie Eyes Without a Face about the old doctor who cuts girls' faces off to try and replace his daughters.
Yeah.
It's like that, but if instead of cutting people's faces off, it was one man who was obsessed with changing your entire body into a different thing.
Yeah.
It honestly scared me to death. Tusk honestly makes me I think it makes me scared in the way that Basket Case makes you scared.
Yeah. I feel like it would scare me. I'm scared. I'm actually scared.
I mean, Tusk is like an existential nightmare.
Yeah.
Do you know... I don't want to spoil it. How much is it a spoiler to just say what the plot is? Not necessarily saying how it ends or what happens.
I mean, I feel like the marketing for the movie kind of gives it away, if I remember it correctly.
It's like, what if a mad scientist captured you, drugged you, and then loved walruses and wanted to turn your human body into a walrus body?
Oh boy. Yeah, no, that is a perfect example of the kind of movie that legitimately, genuinely would probably shake me to my core. I really have a really big issue with body horror as it relates to existential crisis.
It's like you lose, like, it's hell. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's great. Truly horrific stuff. Agreed, Munson.
Because I'm a control freak.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah. And Sam Neill, great in Hunt for the Wilder People, yes. Sam Neill rules. I think Sam Neill, In the Mouth of Madness, oh man, I need to watch that. That's John Carpenter later. That's like one of John Carpenter's 90s movies that wasn't as successful because it was more esoteric. I need to check that out. And then Sam Neill was in like Sleeping Dogs and Possession back in the day. There you go, Possession popped up right there. So good. But yeah, the absurdity of it is there, but like at a certain point, it's more like, okay, this was funny for a second, now it's really creeping me out. I don't know, Tusk is great. How do we start talking about Tusk? Oh, Haley Joel Osment. Remember seeing him in a video called Wrestling Isn't Wrestling. Makes sense that he's popping up on pods and stuff. Okay. Well, Haley Joel Osment rules. End of story. We watched The Hangover Part 3, which is weird. It didn't feel like a Hangover movie. We were just kind of being completionists here. If you watched last week, you know we watched the first 2 in the series. I mean, it was a solid movie. I don't hate it. A lot of people hated it. I think it's actually fun. You liked it more than number 2.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, it does, like you said, it doesn't really feel like a Hangover movie necessarily. It feels like, speaking of being completionist, it just feels like, you know, maybe like a Rocky Balboa kind of situation where like the last movie wasn't that great and they want to like tie some bows on some shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had mentioned to Adam that, like, this just occurred to me while we were watching it, and it's probably totally off base, but, like, the first movie feels like, and forgive me, I forget all of their character names, but Ed Helms, it feels like his kind of journey through, like, becoming a more fully realized version of himself, and the third one feels like truly Zach Galifianakis's journey. Sorry, Alan. It feels. Hi, Alan.
Sorry, June. Our dog just got excited. Alan is the name of Great Job Nerd's
we just
dog.
Keep saying it, and her ears are just getting higher. Alan.
And every time we say the character name, she's like, she woke up. Her ears are fully perked.
Is so cute. Okay, so the third one feels like
movie,
sort of movie, and move through, like, becoming a more fully realized version of himself. And I was wondering if the second one, you know, was a century. And you had mentioned that maybe you thought it was Chow. Thank you.
I think. Okay.
Wow, I really, truly did not absorb any of the character names in these movies, and we watched all three back to back, basically. And I'm like, cool.
And they refer to each other by name almost in every line of dialogue.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Well, I think that while I admire the thematic desire to place a main character on each movie, I don't think that the second one is necessarily that much Phil's movie. But I do think the third one, they are fully leaning into making movie because Zach Galifianakis so quickly became the reason he became the thing people were quoting.
Yeah.
The reason they were so successful is partly, like, that's why he's a movie star.
Yeah.
Chow, I think you could watch the Hangover movies and see them as a Chow trilogy. Because Ken Jeong's evolution of this character is, like, in the first one, he's a villainous side note, but he's chaos. In the second one, he's dialed the hell up, and kind of the catalyst for the chaos. In the third one, he's full on the catalyst, but Chow in the third one is, like, one of the most gangster movie characters of all time. Like, not a good guy. I'm not saying you should root for him, but he gets away with everything mercilessly and efficiently, and is kind of one of the most incredible villains, like, weirdly tucked into this. And it's like it addresses all the criticisms of the second one, like, where the second one just got called a remake with more racism. Hangover 3 is like sets itself back in Vegas and does a different plot to, like, try and shirk back from that.
Yeah.
It's solid. I don't think it's the best thing ever. It was a fun watch.
Yeah.
It's also the shortest of the three.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Oh, Alan started crying too? Oh, baby boy, baby girl. Yeah, we're not lying. She gets very excited when she hears that name. Yes, and directed by Academy Award nominated filmmaker Todd Phillips.
And here she comes.
Who is doing a
Hi, baby.
Joker 2 now. Okay, well, shall we get into the big two here? Speaking of Haley Joel Osment and amazing child actors from 1999, there were two child actors in 1999. There was Haley Joel Osment and there was Jake Lloyd. And Jake Lloyd, of course, grew up to be Hayden Christensen. And we watched Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I don't know why I'm reading these, like I don't know these titles. We watched Episode 2 and Episode 3.
Needy bear.
Both of them. It'd been a while for you.
Mm-hmm. It'd been quite a while for me.
Man, I'm sorry. Can I take another pee break?
Yeah.
Can you... Well, talk about whatever the hell you want, but I thought it might be fun if I say nothing about these, because since it's been so long for you, I really want to know, like...
Yeah,
what your fresh perspective.
You know, last week we watched the first one, so this is the first time we're watching Star Wars in this particular order, which is interesting. Excuse me. Oh, that's cool, Pathos. I didn't know that. I gotta be like, well, here's the thing. It's weird because I don't really know how I feel about these movies. As you know, on the stream we say, like, try to watch things, like, try to contextualize things when you watch them and think about when they were made. And in that sense, like, a lot of the stuff that's happening with the CGI and the animation is, like, really incredible. Unfortunately for me now, I mentioned this last week on the stream that the first one just was so distracting to me. Like when they're supposed to be like in a forest and they're in a, green screen room or whatever those are called. Anyways, I feel kind of bad saying this, but it's been a really long time since like I felt sleepy during a movie. I feel bad. I feel like someone's gonna be mad at me for saying this, but while we watched episode 1, 2, and 3, I got really sleepy in the middle of all 3 of them. I was just sort of like, what do we do? We're still happening. Okay, it's just the movie's still happening. And I don't mean that to say like there aren't good things about these movies. I just like legitimately my brain was like, and maybe it does have something to do with like all of the CGI and how much that is ever present, but it was like my brain couldn't engage in the same way as it is used to, if that makes any sense at all. And I'm sorry, it probably doesn't. Speaking of brains, my brain is not working today. Oh, boy. Okay, so Pathos says that Hayden Christensen is coming back to Star Wars in the upcoming Obi-Wan Disney series. Did you know that?
Yes, which is so exciting.
That's very exciting. I've come around to the plot being correct, but they're not good movies. Haha. Okay, yeah. It's exactly how I felt for The Rise of Skywalker. I love the Star Wars, but every time I try to watch that movie, it's just shut my brain off. Thank you. Okay. I thought maybe it would make people upset, but... did you hear what I was saying?
No, I'm sorry.
I was just saying that, like, I feel kind of bad, but, like, normally I don't really get sleepy during movies.
Oh, I did hear that, yeah.
Yeah, okay, but all 3...
that happened to me, too.
All 3 of these movies, I was sort of, like, found myself in the middle being like, whoa, gotta stay awake.
They get a little lully. Well, here's something that I said while we were watching, which is, what's really interesting in the prequel trilogy, which we now just watched, so let's talk about this as a trilogy, because we just watched this. What's really interesting is if you compare this to the original, and to the sequels, the difference is that the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, our main characters are on the run the whole time. Mm-hmm. The war is happening. They are action movies. They are, think of the way Empire begins. They're under siege. Like, Star Wars is an attack on an army base on the Death Star. Empire is under siege, fleeing and being captured, and Jedi is fleeing again and trying to end it for real. And then the sequel trilogy, they're on the run the entire time. The prequel trilogy, they're not action movies. They're historical dramas. They are historical dramas that are slow-paced, walk and talk heavy.
Set in front of a green screen.
And I understand the idea that people get sleepy and can't make it through them. I think at this point, I've watched them so many times that they're like just... It's like watching it doesn't even process it. But I got sleepy too.
Yeah. I mean, to think about all 3 of them, I think I had mentioned to you, I felt like the first one was kind of superfluous, but I see how it fits into the greater context of the first 3 films. It was really satisfying to like get to the last 30 minutes of episode 3, I gotta say. Like, but I think for me, I got excited. I don't think it was like the lore coming together that made me excited. It was like actual, this is like, I mean, legitimately, like, it was like actual like set pieces, and like, it felt more like, not because of the lore, not because of like the characters, it felt more like the original movies. It was like exciting to be, I don't know. The
Tantive 4 is what I'm going to say. The ship is called the Tantive 4. It's a Carillion corvette. It's the ship with the 434 boosters on the back. Mm-hmm. It's the first ship we see in Star Wars, in the first Star Wars movie, mm-hmm. with Leia on it. It's in this movie. It's in episode 3. And they use the real set from the inside of it.
Yeah.
Because it's Jimmy Smits, it's Bail Organa, Leia's adopted father. It's his ship. It's why we'll see her in it later.
Yeah.
But I remember that ship specifically symbolizes, like, I remember when this movie came out, people were like, oh, we're back inside the Tantive 4. It feels like Star Wars again. And then at the end of the movie, when we're actually there on that Tunisian desert with the two suns, it feels like, oh, we're here. We're back in Star Wars. You're right. It's physicality.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what I love about the movies. It's like the actually being in these worlds and being in these ships and seeing like all these different life forces, like sitting through 3 movies where literally everything that's magical about Star Wars is created with a computer, which I was saying, like, contextualizing, yes, there's some really amazing things happening here that are really groundbreaking, but for me, it's just like, man, the thing that makes Star Wars so fucking cool is the set pieces and the miniatures and, all of that stuff, like the makeup and the, like, God, that's just, the prosthetics, like, all that is so cool, and you just, like, none of that's happening.
Yeah, and a lot of characters fully are CG, and there's some very strange choices. Like, the diner scene will always bother me. It's so weird that diner exists in their world like it does in ours.
It legitimately made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
What do you want? You want some scrambled eggs? Toots?
Yeah, like, exactly. What? You need some Jawa juice? That's not coffee. Why is it called Jawa juice?
Why is there a 1950s American diner?
Yes, exactly.
Like, randomly with, like...
Because George Lucas made American graffiti and he doesn't want you to forget it.
Yeah. You want cheese on your burger?
Yes, and you're right, nerds. Baby Leia, which, by the way, perfect casting. That baby definitely looks like it's going to grow up to be Carrie Fisher. It actually really does. That Alderaan, that's the only time we do see Alderaan. And honestly, I expected Alderaan to look a bit more like Naboo. It's kind of metallic, futuristic. And yes, Darth Vader heard that baby's dad is going to blow that planet up in 30 years.
Yeah.
Or however many. And see, Wedge saying the shot inside the Corellian Corvette was refreshing in episode 3. It's like, it's so short, but it's the same reason people responded to being inside of the Falcon in episode 7. Real set. That's what was such the lure of episode 7 and made everyone fall back in love with Star Wars until they dropped the ball on the 9th one. I will say the only thing that really, really takes me out of this computer-wise is when the computer is in charge of the camera movement as well. I can deal with actors on a green screen and believe that space is there, but there are certain shots where they don't need an actor. It's all CG, and you can see the camera is also CG. They're not shooting anything, and that movement of the camera doesn't feel right. Here's my ultimate take on the prequels, though. They got rid of Mara Jade. Oh, Disney got rid of Mara Jade. That is kind of upsetting. They ditched all the extended universe stuff, though. Doesn't mean that it's not still headcanon for us. Okay, so rewatching them before I jump in with my little unified theory on the prequels, which I won't rant, but as the first time you'd watch them, someone who hadn't watched them a whole lot, get a little sleepy. The unreality of it took you out of it, but ultimately felt like it was worth it. But if it's worth it only because it starts feeling like Star Wars, then is it worth it?
I think it's gonna be. I feel like once we watch through everything, I'm gonna be like, man, I'm glad we did that. Like, in, contextualizing them throughout the whole. What's the word I'm looking for? Saga. I think it will be incredibly satisfying. Like, it already feels satisfying to weirdly watch in this order. I'm glad we decided to do it this way. Like, I'm excited.
I've never done it this way.
It's fun. I really like it. I forget what I was going to say. I will say one thing at the end of 3. I kind of wished that she hadn't gone, Luke, Leia.
Oh, was she names them?
That's like such a tiny little thing.
I wish that he hadn't gone, no.
Yeah, that was like a little uncomfortable.
That takes me out of it because it's a hard moment.
Yeah.
He just thinks he murdered he did all this. He became a child killer for this woman, and he thinks he killed her, and that's what we get as James Earl Jones phoning in a no.
Yeah.
I hate that moment.
I do too. It was pretty awkward.
By the way, if we decide to rewatch, well, we are rewatching, but we have options on the original trilogy. Mm-hmm. Personally, out of curiosity, I'm down to watch this Blu-ray set. They're going to be the new updated versions. Oh. In Return of the Jedi, the Force Ghost of the old Darth is replaced with Hayden Christensen as young Anakin, for instance. Oh. And at the end of Jedi, when Darth Vader picks up the Emperor, he goes, no, which they added, which is the stupidest fucking thing. Oh. Just prepare. Okay.
Well,
yeah,
I think
they also add a no. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's so awful.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty cringy. I would say that's the word I would use to describe. Is cringy.
Wait, what the fuck? Oh, are you talking about the Force Ghosts? New updates. Yeah. Well, we also have the the metal tin box. As I know, Great Job Nerds, you have this too. The original theatrical cuts, and I know you can buy the despecialized versions, which are Blu-ray remasters. But of the original versions. You can find that on eBay.
Yeah.
Great Job Nerds got me the new book, Thrawn, and I just finished it. It sounds like everyone's loving Admiral Thrawn. Wedge, Pathos, and Nerds, and I barely know who Thrawn is, so I'm going to need to check that out. Same. RCA video disc copies of the original, so you can get it on a RCA video disc player. You can't see it, but right up here is an RCA video disc of the Neverending Story. I do not have a player for it, though. However, we do have the originals. Not only do I have the original VHS copies, but we have the the 2006 Best Buy exclusive trilogy box where all the original widescreen were put on the second disc as special features.
Oh, Munson, I hate the CGI Jabba in A New Hope.
Oh, yeah. Ugh. Have you ever watched the original cut with the human Jabba before they knew they wanted Jabba to be a creature?
Yeah.
It's just like the big old gangster dude. Han Mabuki. It works, but it's janky. It is the best Star Wars trilogy other than the original trilogy. Oh, interesting. Same recording of the no from the original take for Sith. I theorize they re-recorded it for Revenge, but reused the no in Jedi. That's so stupid. Makes me mad. I try not to be a person who gets mad about Star Wars in my 30s, but god damn it. Okay, real quick. Here's my thing. I think someone pointed this out earlier. They said, I think it was Wedge who said, I've come around to the plot being correct, but they're not good movies. That's kind of how I felt. Mm-hmm. I've always said, I've said for enough years that I can say always now that the prequels are a fantastic story executed poorly. Having rewatched them again, zooming out, I want to go a step further and say the prequels are actually like the grand Shakespearean drama of our time. They are statecraft and political intrigue and Warcraft, not the game, and interpersonal drama and interconnecting worlds that if you were to change all the location names to old European kingdoms, and you would have this sprawling Shakespearean political drama. I think it's there. I think George Lucas is a complete genius, visionary, and changed the world. And I do think that the plot treatment of these movies is out of this world, bonkers, and incredibly interesting. But how do you set up a new trilogy for a new generation to put all the little kid stuff in there to get them into it, while also honoring why people from a previous generation came into it? It's an impossible task. You're never gonna please everyone. But what really hinders these movies, I think more than the CG, more than anything, is the dialogue. And I just wish with all my heart that we would have been able to see a version of these where you get all the Shakespearean drama scenario. You can keep every scene the exact same. Nothing has to change except the dialogue. You can have that corny, terrible conversation on Naboo with the sand is coarse and rough and gets everywhere. Not like here, it's soft. You bring in someone who actually knows how to write romantic dialogue, you direct the actors to get there, that scene all of a sudden could work.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess my point is that the dialogue and the wooden direction are really what hamper this, because it's just like how they say on social media, posting a picture of your face is going to get you more likes than a picture of an object because people respond to faces. Same thing, like, I'm going to see Star Wars because, like you said, of the world building, but if I can't identify with the human actors, you're losing me already, because they're the thing I need to gain entry into the world.
Yeah. And you had also mentioned that this was like one of the, especially episode 1, it's like one of the first times that actors are fully attempting to act with nothing.
It's new. It's a new thing.
Yeah.
It's not like Marvel now where everyone gets the gig.
Yeah.
It's new for them.
Exactly.
It does show.
Yeah.
They need, if you've ever acted, you know that looking into someone else's eyes. What?
I said I'm just going to lean over here for a minute.
If you've ever acted, even in a school play, you know that, like, it's a lot easier if someone's looking back at you and they're fully committed. Mm-hmm. If someone's looking at you and you fully believe, acting is reacting, right? Blah, 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 on my part. Anyway, I really respect what these movies are trying to do, but unfortunately, the execution is just marred by, I think, Lucas being surrounded by too many yes men and not having script editors. But I love this trilogy. And...
yeah, I mean... sure.
I even love Jar Jar. I love the stupid comedy. I hate the one-liners that C-3PO has during the sequence in the second one. But even that, it's like, I'm imagining like the clown, you know, Shakespearean times, clown, poop jokes, whatever. Are we any better off? Probably not. Mm-hmm. Blah, blah, blah. I'm tired. Okay. I had one other thought about these movies that maybe doesn't matter. We can move on.
I don't know. I just needed to... you know?
The energy dipping.
Baby needs a nap.
Baby needs a nap. Well...
baby's head is too heavy.
I forget what else I wanted to say about these other than watching Palpatine come to power is an incredible long game that is pretty fascinating. Blah, blah. What else is to be said? Let's check up on our chat here. Qui-Gon's Pathos favorite Jedi would really like some kind of Disney Plus recap. I would love to see more of Qui-Gon for sure. Great job, nerds.
Quick walk. I'll be right back.
From what I understand regarding the release versions, Disney has not fucked with episodes 1 through 6 since George gave it to them. So the Disney Plus versions and the Saga release that we have, this guy, are the versions that George handed them with the final changes. Yeah, I could see that. As the nose, Greedo saying McClunky as added by George. Spielberg allegedly begged Lucas to direct episode 2, which Lucas refused. Hell, I want a recap of Palpatine's life. His story is fascinating. I mean, I think that's why... I mean, you're saying, Pathos, you're kind of saying, like, you would love Qui-Gon, you would love Palpatine. This is why Star Wars works, because every character is fascinating. We could want to see a whole mini-series about anybody. Honestly, I will tell you who stood out to me the most. One of the most... the CG character, CG backdrop thing is definitely distracting, but Watto turns in one of the best performances in this whole trilogy. Watto in episode 2 with his, like, when he's just like, you know, he's a piece of shit slaver who has lost, but you see him having lost everything, just down and out, and he's like, Annie? Little Annie? It's like a weirdly heartbreaking performance from a computer character. Anyway, Watto goes through real changes. Yes, he's dynamic. I'm a Todarian. Trees don't work on me, only money. I don't think I have the throat to be able to do that. Spielberg did direct, apparently, did come in and direct the Duel of the Fates lightsaber duel. And I think maybe, or either that one or he directed the final Anakin Obi-Wan duel. In any case, these movies are movies that I feel like I kind of have to squint my eyes, acknowledge there's going to be some weird acting, some poor choices, some stupid jokes, some bad computer animation, and then I can squint my eyes, and if I get through all that, I can look into Ewan's eyes, who's the MVP of this trilogy, acting his ass off, circles around everybody, and I can say, I'm feeling this guy's heartbreak at losing his brother to mental illness in Fox News, and like, Anakin becomes a radicalized fascist fuckboy, and it sucks for everyone in his life. And I also can even see Jar Jar crying during, like, I'm such a fucking nerd. I think of Jar Jar crying at Amidala's funeral, and I'm like, he really lost a friend. That was like the first human he trusted, other than the Jedi. Like, that was a bond that brought Naboo peace. If you really get into it and you see beyond the veil, if you see beyond all the crap that Lucas is throwing in your face the whole time, there's an earnestly beautiful political drama at play.
Oh, for sure.
In episode 1, he wasn't a Sith Lord. He was still serving under Darth Plagueis and killed Plagueis in between episodes 1 and 2. Holy shit. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together and know that. Remember when he's like, Darth Plagueis the Wise taught his pupil everything he knew?
Yeah.
But hold up. In episode 1, he is the Sith Lord because there's only 2 at a time, right? So it's him and Darth Maul. And then Maul dies, and then he takes on Dooku as his apprentice. And then Dooku dies, and he courts Anakin. But he's always the Sith Lord. He's always Sidious. Does he really kill in between? I thought that he killed Darth Plagueis before episode 1. / was Darth Plagueis and had lost all of his power and had to crawl his way back up from obscurity. Like, who knows Palpatine? Palpatine may be the same force that spawned Anakin without a father, spawned Palpatine. Maybe they're opposite and equal forces that was the universe loathing a vacuum. Who knows? That's fascinating. Spielberg directed the scene of the creature pooping at the racetrack where Jar Jar was woo pu. That's amazing. Not exactly. Plagueis got super pissed for violating the rule of 2, confronted Palpatine, and got wrecked.
Radicalized facts.
Interesting.
Facts!
Yes. I mean, it's what he is. It's sad. It's also sad how relevant this shit is now. Like, this stuff still tracks. Like, I'm like, this happens. Lucas tried to warn us. Like, not to, we're thankfully out of the Trump era, hopefully forever. But Lucas warned us about how this shit happens. Thunderous applause, baby. It's not wrong.
Thunderous applause, yeah.
That's actually one of my favorite lines.
It's great.
All of Star Wars.
Oh, me too. Like, I will say, seeing that in context, I was like, yeah. Damn.
And you know what's super fucking fun now is, like, after watching those, I will say it is kind of a rush watching A New Hope. And when Darth Vader enters that ship, you're like, oh my god, this is fucking daughter. Like, this dude is gone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The lightsaber stuff's really cool, but it does beg the question of why aren't the lightsaber fights cooler in the original trilogy, to which everyone's response is, well, because they haven't been, it's not a culture of sword fighting, they're all learning it. Mm-hmm. But it adds a new element to Obi-Wan and Darth Vader's confrontation. It deepens everything in the original trilogy. And I will say I also got a little emotional watching the twin suns come up on Tatooine, because in the original, when Luke's looking at the twin suns, it's just a cool sci-fi idea. What if this planet had 2 suns? And when you watch it in Revenge of the Sith, you're like, it's Luke and Leia, they're the twin sons of the dawn of a new hope. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was about to cry over here, y'all.
I also talked way too much about Star Wars for one stream, I think.
Are we surprised?
No. Okay, that's what we watched. That is what we watched, gang. I think it's time to get into New Arrivals, and then Movie Club. We don't really have a discussion to have. None of us watched it. Mm-hmm. So we'll just talk about what we want to watch for the month and have fun with it. New Arrivals. Let's skip on over there. It's going to be like 3 minutes.
Movie Club. Movie Club.
That's a...
New Arrivals.
There's New Arrivals. Okay. Stephanie's still laughing at this. That said the wrong thing.
Oh, boy.
Okay, movie... New Arrivals. See, I don't even have them with me. I'm such a piece of shit today. New Arrivals. First one, this one is dedicated to Great Job Nerds. If I can get it. If it's in here. Why is it dedicated to Great Job Nerds? Why, you'll see. Stop. Just have a little patience, okay? Seriously.
Why don't you start guessing?
Yeah, why don't you start guessing?
Why don't you stop judging and start guessing?
That's right. Oh my goodness, come on, babies. What was the other one I got along with? Whatever. It's probably out somewhere. It's probably sitting out. This is just a mess, y'all. Oh, this is just a meh. Yes. We need a new shelf.
Great job, nerds. Real quick before we get into this, but for real, do y'all know the meaning of Duel of the Fates? Did we address that?
No. Please tell. Please do tell.
DT, do tell.
So
PDT, please do tell.
Real quick. Oh, that's right. It's over by the TV. So real quick, Thank you, Boo. I know we said we're supposed to wrap this up. Yeah, that's what I assumed, I guess, was that... Yes, thank you. That's what I assumed, I guess, was Duel of the Fates was that. But I wonder... you know the Chosen One theory? And in episode 3, Yoda kind of retcons it and says... a prophecy that misread could have been, perhaps. Mm-hmm. His grammar's kind of all over the place in episode 3, by the way. It's like... Okay, and I love the idea. A lot of fans suggested that Yoda should have had normal speech in these because it should have been the 40 years in isolation in the swamp that made him start talking backwards.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just a fun idea. A woulda, shoulda, coulda, as there are many with... Hi, baby boy. I do not know the meaning of Duel of the Fates. Please drop it in the chat because I want to know. But in terms of the prophecy of bringing balance to the Force, I think I always thought that Anakin does bring balance to the Force because the universe is at this place where there isn't any balance because everyone's constantly lying, and so it does get taken over by fascism, and once fascism is defeated, that is when things can be at balance. So I see Anakin as a necessary force to plunge everything into darkness so that Luke and Leia, so that Luke finds the balance of the Force at the end of Jedi when he is both dark and light powers, and I like the idea that Luke goes on to teach that new gray Jedi philosophy to a new generation. Obviously, the sequel trilogy has different ideas than that, but I'm also at an age where I'm like, yeah, but if I want there to be 6 Star Wars movies, 1 through 6, and then my head canon, I can do that. That's fine. And then I can also accept there's real canon, and maybe that doesn't... Anyway. Cat. Yeah. Thank you, Wedge. I'm with you. Great job, nerds. 2 fates of young Anakin. If Obi-Wan trains him, he falls to the dark side. If Qui-Gon trains him, his path would have been to the light side. That's makes me sad.
It makes me very sad.
So it's basically which one of them is Maul gonna kill? Because Maul has 2 blades.
Dang.
There's layers to this. Lucas is much smarter than he's given credit for. Lucas is like your friend who took college level Latin in 8th grade, but every time you talked to him, he farted and laughed about it, and you're like, you can't be that smart. Mm. And then later you're like, you were. You just have such a bad sense of humor, and you're so bad with girls. Mm-hmm. Lucas, damn. There's 2 blades for Darth Maul, so only one of them can be saved.
Wow. That's wild.
And I love Obi-Wan, but Qui-Gon was wiser.
He was.
Damn. It's blind leading the blind at that point. Babies having babies. Mm-hmm. Damn. That is good. I really love Star Wars, you guys. Really yeah. Okay, quick time for...
It's easy to forget, how... It's, how incredible Star Wars is. Because it's just so, it feels so ever-present.
Which it is now. Now it's a brand. Mm-hmm. But it's a myth first. Anyway. Makes me wonder... I want to travel back. I don't really, because I'm sure I'd die of a disease I haven't heard of immediately. But if you could travel back to the days of ancient Greece, would there be? Are there? I'm actually sure there were Zeus action figures you could buy for your kids. Mm-hmm. Probably someone making money off that.
Probably. Capitalism, yeah.
Capitalism, yeah. Guys, remember in the theater when the second Blade came out? OMFG. Yes, I do remember in the theater when the second Blade. Not Blade 2, Guillermo del Toro, but the second lightsaber blade. Mm-hmm. Yes, I do remember. Remember in the theater when Yoda took out his little lightsaber and did his sweet flip jumping fight?
Now, last week we were talking about shared theater experiences, and I think that is one we probably all remember is when the Yoda fight happened. Mm-hmm. People being like, what?
The Yoda fight blew some minds. Yeah. And also, one of my favorite theatrical memories is the seismic charges bit, which I think is the pod race of the second movie.
Yeah.
Because it's no music. It's actually the same structure. It's no music until the finale. But those seismic charges, like, so cool. Pure THX, man. And another thing Lucas doesn't get credit for is...
Pure THX, man.
Well, another thing Lucas doesn't get credit for is THX Skywalker Sound, Dolby.
You guys want to buy some
industrial...
THX? Sorry.
You don't want to sell me THX. You want to go home and rethink your life.
That's good.
Thank you.
That was good.
That was good, too. It was good. It was good. It was good.
We did it.
We can do improv again. We're ready. We're stage ready. Yeah. Okay, speaking of Star Wars, one of the new arrivals this week is the tape of Spaceballs. This is from a fire sale. I've talked about this before. Basically, Facebook tape group. Someone says, who wants a fire sale? They have dozens, if not hundreds of tapes. They throw them up in the comments with dollar amounts. You comment, claim if you want one. You pay, they ship. It's a fun little thing. It's a great way to get tapes cheap. So I don't really need Spaceballs on tape. But it was $2, and I could not resist it because it says Spaceballs the video. And if there's one thing I can't resist, it's a self-aware piece of physical media.
Yeah.
So, very Star Wars. Obviously, it was fun to watch. I actually watched about half of it. It's not on my What Did You Watch This Week list because I didn't finish. But insane Purple Rain, just to get an OG copy of Purple Rain on VHS. It's the 1984 year of release copy. Reading the text on the back, I love the way that it was described contemporarily. Take a richly human story of survival and triumph, a now soundtrack by some of the hottest bands. A now soundtrack. I love the use of the word now as an adjective there. Some of the hottest bands and the startling, brooding presence of the 24-year-old rock superstar Prince. The man who lived the music, and you've got Purple Rain. I love this movie.
Yeah.
Told you it was a light week, though. Finally, Matrix Revolutions. Now, this isn't like... The reason I got this is because it popped up in the fire sale for $8. And you might say, Adam, you don't need to spend $8 on a VHS copy of The Matrix that you already have on Blu-ray that you probably won't watch on VHS. To which I say, did you know that this is one of the last major Hollywood releases to make it on VHS and that people are selling it on eBay for $95 and up? It's weird. This has become a weird collector's item. Not Matrix 1, not Matrix 2. Specifically this one. Because no one wanted it on tape. For obvious reasons. It was a big tech movie. No one wanted to watch it on an old format where it didn't look as clean as it could. Anyway, when I saw it for $8, knowing that it goes for hundreds regularly online, I was like, yeah, I'll take that. It's a rare tape. Throw it in the archives. Cool. And then finally, this one's the one dedicated to Great Job Nerds because... Great Job Nerds used to work with Jared Boulanger and Amara Boulanger at Toy Joy with me in Austin. He has been the live music photographer, taken a lot of photos of this band playing, some of the best photos of them. The Sour Notes, mutual friends of ours, homies, and a great fucking indie rock band from Austin, the Sour Notes. People are embracing the VHS format, y'all. They just put out this piece of merch. This is a live concert they shot at... the St. Luke Hospital during COVID-19 as a benefit. It's essentially it's 14 tracks, it's a full set, but it's essentially like a video album. And I saw this on their Insta. If there's one thing I am more than happy to do, it is support a friend's physical media merch, especially if it's on tape. thesournotes.bandcamp.com. thesournotes.bandcamp.com. If you're interested, if you're a friend of the band, if you're a friend of the show, you want to pick this up, this is $10. I think with shipping it was $12. Totally worth it. And on the off chance that Jared or Amara ever sees this, still love you guys. Haven't talked in a long time, but really appreciate getting this from you in the mail.
And 1,000 hugs from Great Job Nerds.
And 1,000 hugs from Great Job Nerds, yes. You too can own one, Great Job Nerds, for less than the price of a cup of coffee a day.
And we got some love for Matrix 2 and 3 from Wedge.
Hell yeah.
Which Adam has been very much pushing, because we recently rewatched 1, and it's very much been pushing getting around to 2 and 3, which we will.
I've been putting the pressure on. Agreed that the best sound effect is that Boom, real quick. And also...
Sorry, not you.
No, I know. The cat's jumping near the cords. Also, just the sound design across the prequels is out of this world. Literally. Yeah. And Wedge, I love 2 and 3. Totally fucking love them. I completely agree. I saw a tweet that I like to reference. I actually referenced it last night because we had a friend over and he asked, I think he saw this tape sitting out and he said, what is your opinion of the Matrix sequels? And I told him there's a tweet that I love, and the tweet says something along the lines of, quote, any randomly selected 5-minute clip from either Matrix sequel has more innovation and creative ideas in it than any action movie we've gotten for 20 years.
End quote.
That's probably hyperbole, but it's not too far off from the truth. The Matrix sequels are... Look. 2 trans filmmakers getting hundreds of millions of dollars to fully indulge their love of deep-cut philosophy, to have an action movie that is a tentpole release for Warner Brothers feature 10 minutes of someone talking about existentialism in a fucking esoteric, nearly inaccessible way, to the way that they played with CG to create brand new worlds, to the fact that they built a highway for the climax of the second movie. These movies have so many ideas and are such a, like... Honestly, I love Marvel so much, but instead of getting a Marvel movie a year, I would love to have just bonkers $100 million sci-fi movies from people who are willing to, like, be experimental. Because the Wachowskis are my favorite living filmmakers, period. The Matrix sequels, Speed Racer especially. Jupiter Ascending, I know, is very messy, but I'll go to bat for it. Cloud Atlas, no one is taking the risks that they are taking. Or, frankly, being more fucking baller with the hundreds of millions of dollars they're getting. Love these movies. Okay, that's my piece. And that brings us to...
Movie Club.
That time it was right to say Movie Club. My wife.
I can't even laugh today. I'm like, oh, it's making my brain juice move.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone hates Jupiter Ascending. No, I can't take that personally. I love it. I'll go to bat for it, and I'll try to explain why. And give me a number of words that I can use to describe why I like Jupiter. 5 words.
5 words.
Gnostic philosophy, beautiful sets, anime. I think if anime people would have loved. Mm-hmm. That's my argument. Is that if that movie, if Jupiter Ascending had been made in Japan and got ported, it would be like this cult thing, like this crazy, oh my god, like there's bee people and wolf people, it's crazy, they rollerblade through Chicago, but like in the sky, it's nuts. There's a galactic empire of super gods that live in the clouds of Jupiter. If it's an American movie, it sounds dumb. If it's an anime, it sounds fucking awesome. And I think that sometimes perspective is all you need to shift your view.
And I think that sometimes perspective is all you need.
Wedge says, haha, okay, sure. Like, okay, good try. I'm not going to convince people who hate it to like it. I know Great Job Nerds hates it famously. But guess what? I still love you guys. But we can all agree that Speed Racer whips insanely hard. Which brings us to Movie Club. No one watched In the Mood for Love?
Nobody watched it, but we will watch it.
We will. We're going to roll it over.
I think we should, speaking of roll over, I think we should just slide on into kind of getting excited about queer cinema for this month. I'm super excited about it. I mentioned at the top of the stream that a few of my movie club, I guess 4 in the past, have been queer movies. So we've got Disclosure, which I 100% recommend watching. It is a documentary. I think it's still streaming on Netflix. We got a giggle.
I got a giggle. Dog Man.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
These can recognize royalty. Dog Man.
Went for a walk, bitch.
Went for a walk, bitch.
That's a Buffy reference.
Yeah, that's right. They were standing outside. They're standing by a bush outside of her house.
Says, I got 5 words for you. Went for a walk, bitch. Anyway, good show.
What was I saying? Disclosure.
Yes.
It is a great documentary about trans representation in film and kind of the evolution and problematic history of that representation or lack thereof. highly recommend. I think that was one of my first documented movie or not staff picks. Another one of my staff picks, which I don't think is documented, is Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Y'all know I love that movie. It is so good. If you haven't watched it, please watch it today. Carol was another one of my picks, which is a slow burn, moody drama about a secret lesbian love affair in the 50s. I feel like I had another one that was like explicitly a queer movie, but maybe I didn't.
I'm going to scroll through. I remember those picks. I think most of them were documented. By the way, this is a good opportunity for us to plug our Instagram. Because on Instagram is where you can see what our staff picks and movie club picks are, as well as random stuff. Oh my god, I just logged on to Instagram to check, and Orbit DVD, which is a great company that does a lot of imports. This might pertain to some of you out there. Adventure Time just got put out in a, frankly, pretty gorgeous box set, complete series. It's a UK box set. I think it might be region free, though.
That's
anyway.
Okay.
Look up. I'm saying Vineet might want to buy it.
Yeah.
So you might want to go to amazon.co.uk and search Adventure Time, because it looks like there's a pretty cool set. amazon.co.uk.
Get a pen. Get some paper.
Let's see here. Scroll through your staff picks. Doesn't take long to scroll back. Got you on Existence, Carol, Muppet Christmas Carol. That was cute that you did that. Disclosure. All the President's Men, The Apartment, My Cousin Vinny, Certified Copy, Sister Act 2. You got some good staff picks.
Who is this person?
Good staff picks. Romeo and Michelle was one of your staff picks.
That is a pretty, queer movie.
Band Apart. It looks like really, I'm only seeing the two, but you mentioned one. Anyway, we have a lot of queer cinema.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick? I saw this on Twitter earlier from a horror account, and I wanted to pass it on, since we sometimes ask for favorites. What's your favorite piece of queer horror cinema? I actually pulled a few because I almost made a photo for our Instagram page at You Were in a Video Store. But a few of my favorites that we have on hand: Nightbreed, really fantastic, Clive Barker; Ginger Snaps, which we watched last Halloween, and maybe the goat of queer horror. Our lighting in here is so weird. Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge, which is there's actually a documentary about it called Scream Queen, Scream, Queen, about how kind of an oral history of the making of it, where Freddy, they break the rules. In the first movie, he's part of Nancy's dreams. In the second movie, he literally is the be gay, do crime force that is inside our main character, the only male protagonist of the series. Anyway, queer horror. If you have a favorite queer horror, shout it out. Those are a few of mine.
Let us know.
Ooh, saving up for a Shin Godzilla print for my living room at the moment. That's wonderful.
Well, I think we should get a short list going of ideas.
Yes.
So I've got, well, first of all, I'll just go ahead and say my staff pick out the gate. Paris is Burning.
Oh, wonderful.
If you haven't seen that movie, it is required reading. The library is open. Any other funny girl? Mark Patton is such a sweetheart too. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's great.
I love that.
That's wonderful.
I love when people are kind.
Yeah, because I know that movie kind of hurt his career, so I'm glad. Knife and Heart was a queer movie, queer horror I watched this past fall. It was pretty great. Writing it down.
I've never heard of that one.
Me neither.
There was a discussion on Quarantine, which is a comedy talk show that was hosted on CTTV, where we've been hosting for a while. They had a discussion, I think a month ago, about the difference between what they feel qualifies as queer cinema and gay cinema, and I think, man, I'm trying to remember exactly how they had it, but they had a Venn diagram going on. It was fun. Queer cinema, gay cinema, and one other qualification I can't remember, but if you want to look through the archives of CTTV and find that discussion, it was a pretty fun, interesting breakdown. They kind of do a real-time game where they had the chat shout out movies, and they were like deciding where they fit within this Venn diagram.
I love it. That was a really great episode.
Yeah.
It was like the political alliance diagram.
Yeah.
You know, the like four corners.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of want to find that archival clip and look through it. I just Googled queer movies just to kind of refresh my brain, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Because the funny thing is, I think when I think of queer cinema, I often do go to just movies about same-sex couples or same-sex romances. Mm-hmm. But I would be interested to try and dive into the world of what you're saying, the difference between a gay movie and like a queer movie, like a movie that inhabits a queer space.
Vibes.
Yes, a vibes.
Mm-hmm.
A movie that inhabits a queer space instead of simply centering a gay character. Mm-hmm. And instance like something like Booksmart, would you call that a queer movie? Well, it's
yes.
One of the girls in it is a gay girl, and the other girl is a straight girl, and they're friends. Mm-hmm. But does that make it a queer movie?
I feel like it's
just to have the inclusion of.
I feel like that movie has like queer vibes on top of having representation of a gay character.
That. Representation versus vibes. Yeah. That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So for Movie Club, I have a short list of things that I want to pitch. One is Watermelon Woman, because I've never seen it. I believe it takes place in a video store. I could be totally wrong.
It does.
I feel like it's kind of like, you know, in the queer film history or whatever, it's kind of regarded as one of the first like lesbian-centered movies. Anyway, so I'd like to see that. Let me know if you've watched that movie. That would be on my short list, whether or not it's picked for staff pick this month. I don't know how hard it is to find Watermelon Woman, so that might be
I think that might be
factor.
streaming on Tubi.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
What else? I had a whole little list in my brain.
Isn't it funny how that happens?
Wow. That is funny.
Well, I just grabbed a couple that kind of came to mind. This is one that I've been wanting to watch for a while, Born in Flames by Lizzie Borden, which is like a radical feminist sci-fi action movie. You can read the back, you might be intrigued. And Liquid Sky, which is a glam sci-fi movie with I saw this pop up, like I said, on Twitter when people said, what's your favorite queer horror? This isn't really horror, but I did see it pop up a lot. And, you know, honestly, once we get into that glam territory, there's a lot that is like queer vibes, gender fluidity. And I would love to see, like, play with some of that. Now, the ones I wrote down, Liquid Sky, Watermelon Woman, Hedwig. I want an excuse to rewatch Hedwig.
Hedwig is great.
You know I love Hedwig with like, it's maybe one of my top 5 movies ever.
Yeah.
Especially
especially coming up on the end of Shrill, it would be really fun to rewatch Hedwig.
Yeah.
I just gotta say real quick, the thing I love about Shrill is the cast. Like, every player in that show is so good and so dynamic and so different from one another. Just as a side note, I just think the casting on that show is perfection, and the comedic acting is so fucking good.
It is. It's also weird seeing I think of James Cameron Mitchell as like a god. It's weird seeing him just like on a sitcom.
Yeah.
Real quick, we got a second vote for Knife and Heart. Also, Munson's picked up the Criterion as well of Paris is Burning, I assume, which I don't think it's on Netflix anymore, but we also picked up the disc last sale. Mm-hmm. Steph, is one of the shorts and scare packages a queer story? Yes, I think it is. The girls with this skull
lollipops? Yep.
Yeah. Air Gear's opening. Faithless is getting pumped on Air Gear. Just listen to the opening theme and want to go hit a heavy bag for a few hours. Bloodthirsty, fairly new, more of a body horror, but deals with some queer themes. I'm going to write that down and look it up. I also want to say, on the note of vampires, there's a lot of 70s vampire queer stuff, especially with lesbian focus. And the one that comes to my mind, there's a movie called Vampiros Lesbos. That's a little bit more on the nose. There's also a movie called there's a movie called Daughters of Darkness. Daughters of Darkness might be my staff pick. Daughters of Darkness is a lesbian vampire story also, but it is about like it's about like a matriarch of a vampire clan who's like this gorgeous woman, but she's in her like 40s or 50s, and she's like ushering in young women who are like in hetero relationships, but like they become vampires. It's very smart and pretty ahead of its time, and it is often like mentioned as like a standout, like, oh, queer horror early on.
That's cool.
Also, you can get into queer, like, one thing I would remember different from the others.
No.
There was that gay silent movie we watched.
Oh, that was very cool.
Like, gay culture, I'm just saying, like, it's been in cinema. It's just the thing is we don't push it to the front enough as a culture.
Yeah.
But,
there's also a lot of things, specifically when it comes to, like, queerness, that have been around for forever and represented in film for forever, but haven't been talked about or had names or labels or discussions around them. Mm-hmm. And I think one of those things is, you know, like non-binary and gender non-conforming and gender fluid and fluidity and sort of the eschewing of like degendering fashion, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Anyways.
I love that. I would actually love to see like a degendered fashion "You're in a clothing store" entry.
Yeah. If
you can find some costumes that you feel vibe. James Whale James Whale directed Frankenstein and a few other things. I believe he's the subject of the movie Gods and Monsters, but he was a gay filmmaker in Hollywood who was responsible for some major horror stuff, and you can see those themes come through in his work for sure. Also, first non-binary main character in a mainstream movie. Do you know who it is?
No.
It's fucking Glenn/Glenda, Chucky's kid from Seed of Chucky.
That's right.
Yeah. The Chucky franchise is the only auteur-driven horror franchise with an out gay writer-director behind every entry. And it's my favorite horror franchise. I really think we could talk about some Chucky this month too.
It's really good.
Chucky is queer as shit.
I think we did a deep dive in Chucky last October.
We did.
Because we watched through the whole franchise. But it is queer as shit, and it is rad as shit, and like radishes.
Radishes.
Like you said,
it is radishes.
And you should go there.
You should go there. What's this lighting situation today? It's like we either...
I think the sun's just...
are washed out. We want to just... Oh, actually, will you turn the kitchen light on? That's been our... I always forget that's our solution. Look at that, Phil. Pathos, I wish there were some places that folks could easily watch Kindred the Embraced. It's based off the Vampire the Masquerade, which is the best vampire universe. Show isn't great. Spelling took a lot of liberties, but it's a decent introduction to the tabletop RPG and universe as a whole. Damn. That sounds like an investment, but I am considering my curiosity piqued. And in terms of vampires, I mean, vampires and horror in general. First of all, vampires are an intensely erotic monster, which lend themselves to queer interpretations.
Yeah.
I think particularly, but I just think horror has always been there. Okay.
Yeah, and we talked last week about how horror is so inherently political, and unfortunately, like, queerness is, you know... Political.
Well, and I think in many ways I don't think I would feel that I would identify myself as queer, so maybe I'm wrong, and tell me if I am, but it feels like a lot of times modern queerness is essentially political in that queerness is deviating from a heteronormative form, right? So, like, even if I want to wear eyeliner, that's a queer act, because I'm deviating from some normalized, thank you.
Normatized.
I was also thinking
Why can't everyone just normatize themselves again?
Normatize. This is the this was the movie about the gender bending. There's also Victor Victoria. Mm-hmm. But there's also Cabaret. So I've been writing down.
Fun. I think this is like a good short list. Should we throw up a survey, or
yes,
should we?
We should. However, I gotta confess that I am not done listing what's on my survey. So Hedwig, I want to watch. Short Bus is John Cameron Mitchell's follow-up with all the unsimulated sex, like the art film that he made afterwards. Of course, I feel like this is maybe a bit surface level, but I have been dying to rewatch Brokeback Mountain.
I have too, and I don't think it's surface level. I really have been dying to rewatch that.
We could watch The Wedding Banquet too. Ang Lee has two. There's also The Birdcage.
Ooh, The Birdcage has been on our short list for a long time.
And The Wedding Banquet is Ang Lee's first gay movie. It's a comedy. It's also about an first generation Asian American guy who's in his, I think, 20s or 30s, and his boyfriend or husband. They're not married. They're like long-term partners. Okay. And his parents are coming to visit, and they're from a very traditional, they're basically traditional family, and they're homophobic, and he has to find a nice Chinese girl to be his beard.
Classic. That sounds so fun, actually.
It's actually really fun. And it's also Ang Lee, and you can watch that with Brokeback Mountain, and you can kind of get like the fun comedy. And it also takes place in New York City. So it's like the fun city comedy, and then like the devastating rural drama.
Yeah, that's great. A duality of man.
The duality of man. But Wedding Banquet. Stupid pen. I'm trying to write Wedding Banquet down. I'm trying to write the words Wedding Banquet. Oh my god. Are you kidding me?
Well, these babies just know their dinner time,
They do. Holy crap. Wedding. Well, I guess it's just the corner of the post-it that hates my pen. Okay, Liquid Sky, Watermelon Woman, Brokeback Mountain, Wedding Banquet, Born in Flames, Hedwig, Short Bus, and I'm going to throw this out there because we just came off Wachowski's, but Bound.
Oh, cool.
Which rules.
Cool.
So,
one of the Wachowski sisters is also featured in Disclosure, if that piques your interest anymore.
Oh, that's right, Lily, right? Because she's the one who's actually active.
Yeah.
Was it Lily or Lana who retired?
I think it was Lana. I think Lily Wachowski is the one who's in Disclosure.
Because Lana didn't want to have anything to do with the film industry anymore. Not okay. Come on. No, Lily has retired. Lana is the director.
Oh,
Lana was the one who took the lead on Jupiter Ascending. Lily's is on Twitter. Lana is not, and Lily's bio says, "Not on the new Matrix film. Stop asking me."
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, cool. Let's put it up for a vote then, y'all. It's like, I'm sure there'll be way...
Oh, But I'm a Cheerleader is another one that is like pretty,
Yeah, that's
pretty
essential,
and one that I haven't seen maybe ever. I feel like I've seen it once, but I don't remember it.
I've seen that movie a lot, weirdly. Maybe not weirdly, but like, it's weird that I've seen it way more than you, but that used to be a movie I throw on at the video store a lot.
Fun.
It's a really fun background movie.
Yeah.
And Natasha Lyonne's wonderful.
Oh, I love Natasha Lyonne.
Let's see here. I'm just going to look up, I'm going to put a little twist on, say, queer foreign films, just to see if we find anything that we're missing. Man, it really is, like, every time I do this, I really am reminded that, like, just Googling things is, like, probably how an entire generation is discovering things, and it is so not as good as browsing a store or talking to people.
Yeah.
So if any, like, oh my god, I can't believe I slept on my dude, Almodovar. Fuck.
My dude.
Almodovar is one of my favorite filmmakers. Definitely queer cinema. Man, one of my favorite Almodovar movies is one that, like, no one talks about. It's called Flower of My Secret, and I love it because it's about a woman in her 60s who writes romance novels trying to find love, and it's, like, one of the only movies about a woman in her 60s looking for love that I've ever seen. Here, let's pull Almo out, because he's got some good stuff.
That's exciting.
Oh, sorry, Mommy.
Sorry, Mummy.
Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. Bad Education. I mean, so many. Talk to Her. All About My Mother. Talk to Her and Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown in particular. Also, he made Pain and Glory recently, which is very much more like normally he centers women, but Almodovar also worked with an actress who was one of the first trans actresses to be in like fronts. Like one of the main characters in Women on the Verge is a trans actress, which was not common in Spain in the 90s.
Well, dang. I mean, sounds like we have too many options, as always the case.
So I will go ahead and whittle down some. So Stephanie, why don't you, and also Toreadors are all about art. That's very interesting.
Ooh.
I will definitely look more into this.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. All right, well, if you're just joining us, we are wrapping up the show by picking our movie club pick for next week. We are jumping into Pride Month by celebrating queer cinema. We're going to try and find queer cinema all month long. We're also weirdly cross-fading with our Hong Kong cinema, which we explored last month. So if you can, watch In the Mood for Love. If you can find a copy, watch Happy Together, which is both Hong Kong cinema and queer cinema. Same directors, In the Mood for Love. And, also watch anything else from Hong Kong, because we will make space to talk about it next week, too. God knows I'm going to try and get through some more of these tapes. Including He's a Woman, She's a Man, which I think also fills in both. Okay. That said, Pride Month pick number 1 is gonna be... Alright, here's our little list. You nominate 2 of your favorites from the list. I'll do 2 of mine, and then we'll pick a wild card.
Okay, cool. I think...
Because I'm gonna get 5 votes, or 5 options.
Okay, I'm gonna say The Wedding Banquet and Watermelon Woman are my 2.
Awesome. Both movies I've been wanting to watch for a while. I'm gonna go ahead and say that obviously I gotta throw old Hedwig and the Angry Inch on there, not just a Harry Potter bird.
Okay, buddy.
I'm a little baby. Mom? 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 Dad?
You little freak.
Little freakazoid, mazikazoid. Man. Here, and then I'm just gonna look up real quick. Like, I'm gonna search Twitter, because sometimes that means people will have...
Oh, obviously Moonlight is so good too.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, you know what? I actually... 90s queer cinema, The Watermelon Woman, I'm actually pulling for, but I'm also going to nominate Poison by Todd Haynes. Because
I've never heard of Poison.
I have not gotten into it either. But it's the director of Carol, 90s. Oh. He also did Safe with Julianne Moore.
Yeah, cool. Didn't know that.
That's my wild card. All right. Call me by your name. It's something I'm going to be watching this month. I haven't seen that. I need to watch that this month too. Great job, nerds. You have a great night. If you want to drop a vote, do before you go to bed. Feel free to vote. And we will see you next week.
Yeah, good night.
Thanks, y'all, for joining us for a little bit of a lower energy, more hungover episode of our show.
Thanks, y'all. And we said it was going to be a shorter show. Makes sense that you're falling asleep because we have gone off the rails and gone for almost 3 hours yet again.
Holy shit, we did it.
Yeah, we did it. And the funny thing is, y'all want to know what the funny thing is that my hangover is fading fast.
So now it's gone.
The last 20 minutes. I'm like,
you made it.
I made it.
You were looking forward to sitting on the couch and nursing yourself, and now you're like,
yeah, y'all gave me life. Okay, is what I'm saying.
Aw.
Aw.
Wait, there were rails, cat.
Right, exactly. We don't really have rails. Let's be real.
And Munson says, yay, and down for Bound, Hedwig, or anything else. That was a quick 3. It was a quick 3 hours.
It went by really fast.
It's weird. I was looking at the clock, and I'm like, we started at our time 5. It's 10 till 8. That's 8 minus 5.
I think that says a lot about y'all in the chat and how easy it is to just engage with y'all for 3 hours without really blinking.
Yeah, it is really nice. Honestly, today was a low energy, like coming off a holiday weekend, kind of feeling guilt for not being more productive on our Tuesday, Monday. And honestly, now I just kind of want to cozy up and order in and watch movies. That's kind of what I want to do.
Me too.
But aside the fact that I felt very motivated to like write the past few days, I've been trying to be creative. Y'all, let me just say, if you move to a brand new city and you tell yourself you're moving there to pursue art, and then you maybe are dealing with coming out of a pandemic and some light depression, and you're not creating art like you thought you would, very easy to think of yourself in a negative way. But then when you have a space every week to hang out with friends, to celebrate art, it keeps your heart afloat. So thank you.
Yeah. That's sweet.
One of my cats is currently ruckusing in the basement loudly. Man, I wish this little guy could get loud ruckus. We have to kind of watch him. He grew up with a limp, so he walks a little off kilter, and he kind of stomps around the place.
Kind of goes like this.
It's adorable.
It's like a little heartbeat.
And also
loud.
Stressful. Well, it looks like Hedwig took the center runaway. Bound and Watermelon Woman were tied. And Wedding Banquet might just be something, honestly, I think that we watch.
Yeah.
And, and it's a recommendation. Cool. So that means that Steph's staff pick. This is the first time you've done an on-theme and I've done an on-theme staff pick.
Hey.
So Stephanie's staff pick is, well, I should type it like I do every week, right? So our movie club pick is Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which is just the best.
I'm excited to rewatch this movie.
Me too. And I will say I've already watched the Blu-ray once because I watched it after I got it from the sale last year. But that was on our old TV. So I haven't watched it on the new TV. So I'm just excited to see it again with even brighter colors. Also, thinking of things that are like stagey, like rope. Hedwig, when you watch it again, you realize that every scene really is like a circle of people talking and arguing, and it is a stage play through and through.
Ooh.
It's also got one of my favorite soundtracks of all time.
Well, yeah.
Put on some makeup. Throw on the 8-track. All right.
Are you hungry, little buddy?
I'm very tempted to make my staff pick the drama about World War II, Is Paris Burning? But I won't. Which is a question reportedly it's a question that Hitler asked one of his generals, is Paris burning?
Ugh.
Isn't that scary?
Ugh.
There's our list.
Whew.
Movie Club, Hedwig and Angry Inch. Adam's pick is Daughters of Darkness, which is a great lesbian vampire movie from the 70s that is not... it sounds trashier than it is. It's actually really smart.
Okay.
A pair of catnip mice that you haven't found that disappeared long ago. Those are in the cat lair now, my friend. Those are in the secret cat place. Well, I think we're going to wrap the stream. That was a fast 3 hours. Look, if you want to follow us on socials, it's at You Are In A Video Store. Guess what? I started a Twitter for us today. That is You Are In A Video because of the character count. Wouldn't let me add the word store. So at You Are In A Video on Twitter. I'll add it to the little signs here. We don't have anything up there yet. It's right now just a placeholder account. But I guess I've noticed a lot of people with podcasts creating Twitter accounts and using those to market. So, hey, if you're on Twitter, follow us there as well. We're going to try and expand the brand. You can also go to youtube.com/babylion, which is also on our rotating sign here. If you want to see archival episodes of the show, I'm behind a few weeks on it. But if you want to bookmark that playlist or follow Baby Lion on YouTube, that's also helpful to us as we continue to do this.
Have a great week, Munson. Great to have you again. Great to have you all again. Thank you so much to anyone who was new, anyone who popped in, and thank you so much to our regulars.
Yes. Sorry to hear that, Pathos. Hopefully, I mean...
Oh.
Yeah. Tech companies and support tickets are like oil and water. I'm tired now. I think it just hit me.
There you go.
Thanks for spending the evening with us, y'all. Have a great night. Let's see. Watch more movies. Be kind, rewind. Black Lives Still Matter. Happy Pride. And have a great night.
Good night.
You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. town. Swing down to Broadway and lights. Ishii, Miike, Tarkovsky, Almodovar, Von Sternberg, Dietrich, Garbo, Garfield, Heathcliff, with Transformers over on the 80s TV show. You need a hand, we can reach it. Moving silence like Bernal Melly is Mishu. Spending afternoons with Maya, then watch Freddy Got Fingered. He's all love for that silver screen, baby, what that TV do? And we here every week too, so don't you touch that dial, bruh. We ain't skipping the previews. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video store. You are in a video store. Say you are in a video. You are in a video. You are in a rental shop. Welcome to the 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 rental shop. We'll watch them.